remember driving to work in the car thinking, when I get there, I need to tell my writers and researchers to Google, to search engine, Hillary Clinton with Putin, John McCain with Putin, Chucky Schumer with Putin. And I didn't write down the note, and I didn't do it. And that was even before this latest session things began. It was like the day before. But I knew they just kept hyping and hyping and hyping that Flynn had met with the Russians over the phone and that Trump was going to meet with the Russians, and you just don't do that. I was thinking how important it was to show these people saying this and doing this against Trump meeting with the Russians. And then I thought I should show Ronald Reagan meeting with Gorbachev, Ronald Reagan meeting with other Russian leaders. I should show George Herbert Walker Bush with Boris Yeltsin. I should show George W. Bush with Putin. But then I thought, no, let's go further. Let's have the leading Democratic leaders, like Schumer, meeting with the Russians. And sure enough, look at drudgereport.com today. I never told the crew to do it. But the great part about the internet is somebody else thought of the same thing. Pure common sense. Schumer and the Russians. There's Schumer with old Vlad. But that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, Russia's trying to reform itself, trying to work with the West, inviting in business, fighting radical Islam, promoting Christianity. Of course, Hollywood and the globalists here are doing the opposite. We talked about Disney putting out on their TV network an image of a bunch of boys kissing boys, girls kissing girls, but a boy and girl about to kiss feeling weird about it. Just like the cover of National Geographic shows all the other genders except the female. Well, now Russian ambassador Sergei Kislyak, it turns out, visited Obama 22 times. Well, that's what you're supposed to do. Yeah. And, of course, it's coming out he visited his Democrat counterparts in the Senate more times than he visited just one counterpart in the Armed Services Committee, more than he visited then Senator Jeff Sessions. But nobody cares about that because the media is not going to talk about it, the controlled corporate press. But here it is. Russian ambassador Sergei Kislyak appeared as Obama's White House visitor at least 22 times. Isn't that just special? And then, of course, there's flashback. Chuck Schumer meets with Putin in New York City. The great Jim Hoft over at Great Gateway Pundit. And then Russian ambassador Kislyak attended Trump congressional speech Tuesday, but sat with Democrats before it broke on Wednesday and Thursday. There is Sue. He sat with all of them. Why? My gosh, they've all got to recuse themselves from any committees they're on. In fact, I want to identify all these Democrats that are in that photo. And I want movements, I want calls, them to recuse themselves from committees that have anything to do with Russia. Period. Everyone he sat next to, everyone he talked to, I want the cameras reviewed, and I want, hell, let's just arrest them all. They're all Russian spies. Oh, Trump on dim Sessions hate fest. He calls it a witch hunt. They lost the election, and now they've lost their grip on reality. Tucker Carlson even kind of grilled him. Yeah, Fox is out to get Trump. And then we've got more articles dealing with all of this that we're going to be breaking down coming up. And, you know, it's a big mistake by Sessions. He's recused himself, so now a top Democrat's going to run the Russia investigation. The only winning move is to not play, to not engage the globalists in a discussion of their false paradigm. They set the rules. They set up a cultural construct that breaks the social contract and is anti-human, eugenics-based, slavery-based, technocracy-based throughout its entire system. And that's the big secret. The globalists got the best and brightest to join them in the last 60, 70 years in the West to construct a planetary world government they claimed would be a utopia to empower humanity. But in the last decade, they've gone public and been very arrogant that the decision's been made to wipe out humanity and merge with machines and become gods. An extreme power trip. And that some nightmare battle of the gods scenario has to take place first before the elite can transcend. There's a big article I mentioned yesterday out of the New Yorker magazine, and it ties in with several other big reports we're going to be getting to. One out of Bloomberg, where AI scientists gather to plot doomsday scenarios and solutions as the so-called elites themselves scurry away and begin living generally more than half the year already out of Europe, out of the United States, out of Australia, out of Asia. And again, places like Kauai, Hawaii, and of course, Tasmania, off the coast of Australia, and of course, New Zealand. I told people about this a long time ago. Now it's in Bloomberg. Yesterday, it's in New Yorker magazine. They are throwing it in your face. It's very, very serious. They've been preparing a worldwide economic collapse and then organized crises they believe would bring them absolute control over the nation states and individuals. They will then accelerate even more crises in the next wave, which will be used to reduce population even more. I've always said they'll have a primer bioweapon that kills 10 to 50 million people. Gates came out last week and said it'll be about 30 million in the next pandemic, that will then train us to all live under a medical tyranny. They've now announced a world government to be run to, quote, counter the medical tyranny they're rolling out. And then they will continue to just tighten the noose as each successive crisis becomes more intense and larger. And then the mega deaths will go from the millions into the billions. A mega death is 1 million or larger. What is a billion deaths? We should search that term. I don't know. What is the term for a billion deaths?
Giga-death.
Giga-death. So you got mega death, you've got giga death. So they kill 7 million of us. Now, Ted Turner says he only wants to kill 80%. So that means there'd be hundreds of millions left, which I think is quite gracious of him. And, of course, as the culling takes place the next few decades, you'll be able to grovel to them properly and show them that you've been subservient. Perhaps you'll be allowed to, live or be given some of the cures for the diseases they've been dumping out and pouring out upon us. By the way, their whole program is in great crisis. It's being blocked. Across the world, people in their own system are aware of the plan, and they're speaking out against it and saying no. The globalist response has been to just be more public about their plan and kind of publicly inoculate everyone psychologically to hide it in plain view and go, okay, well, humans are ugly and fallen and bad. There are too many of us. So if you don't merge the machines, we'll just step on you. You'll be obsolete. Elon Musk 2 weeks ago. And they've all made the same statement. Ray Kurzweil, all of them. All of them. All of them. Bill Joy, the list goes on and on. Bill Gates, all of them. David Rockefeller. And look at the Clintons. Look at their attitude towards humanity. A total elitism, a hardness, a selfishness, a hate to steal $2 billion from the Haitians, give them less than 4% of the money raised, keep it for yourself, and be praised as being liberal. It's like Bono. He was caught giving less than 1% to African aid when he was raising billions a year for it. So he upped it to 1.8. 1.8. Imagine you run a charity for starving kids and you keep 98.2%. But as long as you kind of wear a scarf around your neck and kind of walk like you're liberal and non-threatening and act beta and wear, red tinted sunglasses and talk real soft and get awards, then it's okay. But they're raving snakes. They are ravenous wolves. They are just foaming at the mouth with absolutely total greed and a satanic spirit towards humanity. Completely and absolutely turned over to it. And their actions are pure hate. So they tell us that speak out against them with anger that we're the hateful ones. No, we're the people who are informed and who are horrified to know we're right, to have stacks of documents, rooms of documents, rooms of videotape, rooms of books with all of you bragging to yourselves how beautiful and powerful and perfect you are, and how profane and ugly and fallen we are, and how you can't wait to live in a utopia of the Elysium fields once we've all been exterminated. And in comes Donald Trump that believes in workers, that believes in people, and says there is advanced technology that has not been rolled out to the public. We're going to start curing cancer, curing disease, curing death. We're going to walk on foreign planets. We're going to break the secrets of the universe. He already knew before, as a billionaire and a smart guy dialed in. Plus, he at least write books about this. That there's a breakaway civilization now in its middle stages. I mean, they're far along here. But once they break away, it's going to be really hard to deal with them. They know there's a coming war between the breakaway civilization and us. Not just left here on Earth. That's a metaphor, the movie Elysium. Forget first world, old world, third world. Forget those fights. This is globalists playing us all off against each other with high-tech, highly controlled, literal bubble cities they're already announcing and designing and rolling out. Peter Thiel, you name it. Floating cities to get away from us. Underground mountain redoubts. And corporate city-states that are tax-exempt above the law, where all the wealth is piled up and kept, where they announce that they're exempt from the vassal governments they've set up for 99% of the Earth's mass, 99% of the Earth's surface, which oppress us, ship the resources, the ideas, the culture, the money, but it's all digital, to them in their central combines. And I said 20 years ago they're going to move back to nation states. I could see the model, or city-states, because I could understand what feudalism already was. So they said they wanted feudalism. Well, I said that's the city-state. It's a de-evolution for us, an advanced, accelerated evolution for them. And I don't mean that in the sense of evolution came from a monkey fish frog or a man bear pig. I mean evolution of technology, automobiles, genetic engineering, you know, advancement. And this is their plan. And imagine reading books where they were admitting this 20 years ago and wanting to warn people. And now it's not just academic books. It is public. It is not just in the pop culture. It is not just in the popular science. It is in the movies and the culture, and they are just readying us to adapt and to accept the new reality, because that's the secret that the social engineers know about humans. If you're not conscious of the fact that you're artificially having your environment manipulated and that you're artificially being bent and twisted in a different direction, you will automatically begin to serve that and begin to love that, and you will adapt into the new, smaller, cramped, oppressive system that you've been put into. But if you demand more from yourself and from your neighbors and from your culture and from your children and from your spouse and from your institutions, and you want to rise humanity in a real direction, then, no, it's fine, it's fine. I was going to tell them to skip the break, but I'm not going to now because I want to go to some special reports, but we'll go ahead and skip it. It's just what you're hearing is not my opinion, not baloney, not garbage, but the reality of what they're building and what they've created. And I'm going to explain it after I play this report from the president, his weekly address. And then I'm going to get into the sad situation with Senator Sessions now, Attorney General Sessions, and just how ridiculous all this is and where this is going next, and how the Republican establishment with the Democrats and the media are all ganged up as a trifecta to try to block Trump and his trifecta of the executive, the legislative, the judicial, and the American people. And so that's really the battle lines. And I should just talk about what's really happened here and then also the cost. But let's go to the president's weekly address, and then we will come back and get into the situation with Sessions. But it's always important to set the table so folks know exactly what we're facing. I'm Alex Jones, and this is the Infowars. Here's the president.
My fellow Americans, I'm joining you today from the deck of what will be our nation's newest aircraft carrier, the soon-to-be commissioned Gerald R. Ford. And as you can see, I'm wearing a jacket and a hat that they just gave me. Not really used to it, but it feels awfully good. I'm very proud of it, actually. Our carriers are the centerpiece of American military might, projecting power and our totally unparalleled strength at sea. This beautiful new warship represents the future of naval aviation, and she will serve as a cornerstone of our national defense for decades and decades to come. A famous aviator once wrote that to build a truly great ship, we shouldn't begin by gathering wood, cutting boards, or distributing work, but instead by awakening within the people a desire for the vast and endless sea. So true. In the same way, we must continue to renew the American spirit in order to rebuild our country, and rebuild it we will. On Tuesday, before a joint session to Congress, I laid out a version, I hope you all watched, for how to accomplish that national rebuilding. My vision includes the elimination of the defense sequester, which has imposed steep cuts on our military. We must give our sailors, soldiers, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen the tools, equipment, resources, and training they need to get the job done and get it done right, especially in these very dangerous times. The active duty Army has been reduced by more than 85,000 men since 2009, and we have over 18,000 fewer active duty Marines. Air Force, it's the smallest it's been since 1947, and their planes are, on average, nearly 30 years old, if you can believe that. Our Navy's fleet is the smallest it's been since World War I, and that's a long time ago. Frontline Navy and Marine strike fighter aircraft are more likely to be down for maintenance than to be in the sky. We cannot afford to continue down this path. My budget will give America's armed forces the resources they need to achieve full and total military preparedness to meet any and all global challenges. And meet them we will. Investing in the military means investing in peace, because the best way to prevent war, as George Washington said, is to be prepared for it. Most importantly, an investment in the military is an investment in the incredible men and women who serve our country in uniform. They are the best of us. They are the greatest force for peace and justice the world has ever known, and we will support them every single step of the way. These are truly exciting times. Amazing opportunities are unfolding before us to strengthen our military, to reboot our economy, and to bring back our jobs. If we all work together and put our country first, then anything is possible. Let us seize this moment and make the most of this incredible opportunity for national renewal. May God bless the men and women of our military, and may God bless the United States of America, the country we love.
Trump knows that the globalists have decided to build a world based on slavery, a world based on oppression, and a world based on believing that humanity's trash and is basically needs to be thrown out, burned up. And he's aware of the globalist model, and so is Stephen Bannon. I know that for a fact. And so is Senator Jeff Sessions, and they're all making a real attempt to really build a world based on the common person and based on common dreams and open free societies. And that's why every criminal element, every slimy group, every mercenary organization, every dishonorable belief system is against Trump. Because Trump is for the people. Trump is real. And that's why I am so committed to defending the 45th president of the United States, is because he stands for everything we stand for: sovereignty, family values, the right to keep and bear arms, building a world for people, not letting special interests come in and pick the winners. And that's why the special interests and the Goldman Sachs and the JP Morgans and the corrupt Catholic Church and the communist Chinese and the Saudi Arabians and the EU bureaucrats, they all absolutely hate him, and they've all combined forces globally, but also here in the United States with the Democratic Party and the Republican Party leadership to come out and to take the completely normal activity of the ranking member of the Armed Services Committee in the Senate to routinely meet with foreign ambassadors, head ambassadors, the head Russian ambassador to the United States, and to turn that into some type of dirty thing when Al Franken in the confirmation hearing clearly setting him up for the future, knowing he's a lawyer, knowing lawyers are obsessed with answering questions exactly as they're asked. It's the religion of lawyers. Franken had that written for him clearly by a lawyer. He's not a lawyer. He's a bad actor, a comedian. He's looking down at the question. He's going, yes, we've heard a lot in the media, this big story out about surrogates for the campaign, and you've been a surrogate, meeting with the Russians and getting directives from the Russians. And, well, sir, I am a surrogate with the campaign, and I've not met with the Russians about the campaign, and I've not seen that happen. They call that deceptive? If he'd have said, as a U.S. ranking senator on the Armed Services Committee, as the ranking Republican, have you met with the Russians? Well, absolutely. I've met with one of their top generals. I've met with their ambassador several times. Just this year, I've met with some of our generals, some of their military people at a base inspection I attended a few months ago. Yes, there's a whole list of that in my file. You can see my itinerary for the last few years posted at us.gov, Senate sessions. Boom, it's all right there. These are public meetings. These are completely above board. I looked it up. Chuck Schumer's met with the very same person, and we're trying to find photos of them together right now. All of them have. But they're going to say, well, I know we've met with him. He lied about meeting with him. And the Republican Party told Trump, and Pence told Trump, they said, just let us have Flynn, and then this will get him off your back. And before Trump could even get rid of him, Flynn just resigned and said, I'm not going to be part of this. And now they're going after Sessions. Doesn't matter if Sergei Kislyak sat with the Democrats during the speech and is a known handler of Democrats for decades. Doesn't matter. They'll try to blame a guy from Alabama who's as patriotic and Americana as basically John Wayne, because the scum hates real Americans. And when we've got presidents doing corrupt things and lying and getting our military into fraudulent wars, it doesn't mean we're against the military to speak out against it. It means we're for the country and for the military. And our military's been sent into these last few set of wars to destabilize the Middle East as part of a long-term plan to then bring in the Wahhabis and the Saudi Arabian jihadis and take over not just the Middle East, but much of Central Asia, much of the countries bordering Russia, much of Europe, and to then even colonize the UK. There's an incredible video that we've had to bleep that's up on Infowars.com in England. And I personally have experienced this with the radical Muslims that live there, where I'll be videotaping the entrance of a hotel that I'm going in to interview an MI6, agent that particular time, whistleblower. And there's some Muslims in their garb across the street. I mean, they look like they're about 2 inches tall from 100 yards away walking up the street. And before they even get close, they're screaming and cussing at me to turn my camera off and not to videotape them. Now, there's government cameras all over the place videotaping. And I noticed that the Brits all start bowing down and groveling to them, but they come over and get my face, and I start yelling back. I say, number one, you're in a public place. I'm videotaping this building as a cutaway shot. And I said, shut up, stop yelling at me. I've got a TV show. I'm getting a cutaway of the building, so I can go in and say, I went to interview such and such. And it shows a cutaway of where I interviewed them. People like that. It's called making a film. I made 20-something of them. But the point was, I wasn't even videotaping them. And they came and got in my face. And that's the attitude when you run into the Muslims in France, in Germany, or in England. And this was their attitude 10 years ago. First time I went to England was 7/7. That was about 10 years ago. Been there many times since. And I just had Muslims all over coming out of their way to get in my face and say, shut up, because they didn't like seeing a Brit uppity. See, the Brits have already been given imperial conditioning to be submissive to the government, submissive to the crown, or they'd get killed. It was one of the most rambunctious, rebellious groups ever. In fact, the Romans could never conquer them. One of the few groups they couldn't. But hundreds of years of mind control and conditioning, they are very, very cowed. So are the American people. I'm not bashing people in England. That's where my name's Welsh. But the point is that they have fallen quite a bit. And there's a video, since I mentioned it, let's just play it now. Let me go ahead and scroll back over so I can see it on Infowars, Infowars.com. Yes, it's called You Look Like Pork, shock video. And this is the exact thing I've run into in England. And my crew ran into it in France last year when there were more terror attacks and bombings and truck attacks. People would come over 100 yards away and stomp up and say, you get out of this neighborhood, you get out of here, you turn your camera off. And guys in cars would start following. I mean, these are no-go zones. And what happens is, especially in England, when the Muslims move into your neighborhood, then they start burning your cars at night. I'm not saying this guy or his family, but this has been on the news. They start burning your cars if you're a native person until you move out of the area. That then drives down prices in the houses, and then more folks can move in. So it's a deliberate scenario to drive down prices and to lower the cost in the area. This is a strategy. Yes, I heard you open the mic up. Go ahead. Yes, Tim Pool. Absolutely. He comes on. He's in Linkby, a no-go zone. He gets video of it. It's incredible. In fact, there are, when I say hundreds, that's conservative. There are thousands of videos in England alone in the no-go zones where you just walk down the street politely and people come over and punch you right in the face. Journalists forced to leave migrant suburb in Sweden after being followed by masked men. And you see the BBC gets beat up. And the point is, this is what's being imported. But if you want to import it, you first got to blow up the countries, destabilize them, and then fund the most radical groups to come in and force the Islamic nations to convert to an even more barbarous, hardcore form of jihadism. It's truly, truly sickening. So you have to ask yourself, what are the social engineers doing? Well, they admit in Sweden and Germany and France and everywhere else, they're bringing in groups that are, quote, anti-European, anti-white, anti-Christian, and the Pope says he doesn't want to hear about Christianity in Europe. It disgusts him. So again, this is meant to put people in their balkanized groups so everyone actually retreats into their racial or religious enclaves. Then the government controls all these ghettos that they have basically set up. It's the prison model of management. And look, I know all of you know this, but one reason this broadcast is successful, changing the world, is at least a couple times a week, I spend 10, 15 minutes exposing the globalist model and how it operates and how it's feudalistic and anti-human. So people know who are new listeners what they're facing and can recognize it when they see it being pushed on the news. Or we come back and break down the divide and conquer and the big goals, and then we give you new examples as it's happening, and then cover all the latest factoids. I also want to get into what I think Trump and Sessions should do at this point, coming up here in a few minutes. But since we have this video and I'm talking about it, I should go ahead and play it now. But it's fascinating how the white guy that the Muslim bully is trying to intimidate looks like he's about 6'4", 6'5", 260, 270 pounds. And the guy's got big shoulders. He's big. And he fights back with political correctness and says, no, you are being racial because you're attacking my religion as well. And this guy knows that that's how he's gotten Europe to lay down and submit to him. So he does kind of shift gears once he's called the racist. Because he understands this is the power that's made the lion lay down to the mouse. He understands that, just like the mayor of London. So he then runs over to attack the woman, to try to spit on her and to try to hit her, and does hit her. And it's a short clip, but it just illustrates everything of this guy anywhere in the United States, unless he was in Berkeley or other areas where they only have chicken necks for some reason. This guy would have been laid out, his jaw broken, just like that. His nose would have been smashed in really fast when he hit a woman. But see, men have been trained, whether it's in Germany, you name it, to allow women to be attacked, to be, you name it, because the new culture of being a Western male, I don't care if you're white, Hispanic, what you are, is to be a cuck, is to be a coward that lays down. Unless you're in a mass of other liberals, then you attack women. So you will know them because they attack women, whether they're Islamicist, whether they are trendies, whether they're Black Bloc, whether they're Black Lives Matter, anarchists, doesn't matter. They revel in attacking the Blue Cat Cafe, Cat Sanctuary, and protesting it every week, and knocking the windows out and putting super glue in the keyholes and stuff so that people can't get in and the cats starve to death. They revel in bullying whatever's weakest because that's their spirit. And so this is what the government of England thinks it needs more of. Here it is.
Love.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Have you got?
I f***ing live in this country, you prick.
Yeah, me too.
F***ing knobhead. Vet vad ni pudding med det där. Yeah, kurva your mum, you son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You're not allowed.
Yeah?
You're not
I'll
allowed.
fucking move your fucking phone out my face before...
Hey, wait a minute, guys. You said you had that bleeped. Yeah, there's two. The problem is we have to delay that. All of it's cussing, so we can't play it. Can we get the part where he talks about you look like pork? All right, we're gonna see what's going on. We got it. Let's go ahead and try again. Here we go.
Pork and you look...
Yeah.
You pig. You pussy.
Yeah. This is racist.
Yeah. How's that
This is
racist?
racist.
I called you a pork bastard. I didn't call you a white bastard.
Based on religion.
Oh,
based,
really,
man.
really, really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Yeah. Call the feds, please, then. I want to see what this mother gonna do.
Gangsters.
Yeah. Your mum's a gangster, you son of a bitch. Off. Yeah, you. Stupid bitch. This ain't your country.
You don't even.
It's true.
You don't even try
Yeah.
to do that.
Delete your and move it then.
Don't.
Then he starts attacking the woman, and I'm not going to play anymore. There's too much cussing. It's hard to bleep it when every other word is a cuss word, but we caught that, right? Oh, good. Okay, we caught it. Good. So we're on a bunch of FCC stations. All these people on the internet go, oh, why do you care about he cusses on the internet? We're on over 200 radio stations, so we don't let cuss words go out. We're still under FCC regulations. Obama wants the FCC to run the internet, but oh, guess what? He's not president anymore. And so we enter into the next problem. And that's that we had Holder yesterday in 3 different articles. In fact, will you guys pull those for me? Because I didn't cover those enough. There was a Infowars, a Zero Hedge, a Washington Times, and then like even a Washington Post. There were 5 of them. It was Obama is coming, close quote. He's ready to roll. He's got a bunker compound with Valerie Jarrett in it, filled with all these activists and operatives and George Soros money. And they say they admit they want to overthrow Trump. It's just mind-blowing. Obama, handler Valerie Jarrett, moves into his D.C. bunker. Daily Mail. Sources Obama and co. working to oust Trump. Well, I guess if Obama's coming, Holder, does that mean he's coming in between 4 months of vacationing and playing golf almost every day and having $65,000 worth of hot dogs delivered to his hotel room? If you're a new listener, I'm not kidding. That's in the WikiLeaks. We're not talking about regular hot dogs here. We did some investigating. High-dollar male escorts, $2,000 an hour, $65,000 worth delivered in one day to an Obama party. I mean, that is quite an orgy. And the point is that this is how disconnected this guy is, arrogantly still trying to be president when he wasn't president for 8 years, and all he tried to do was run the country in the ground in between playing golf and enjoying succulent hot dogs. Obama's goal to oust Trump from presidency via impeachment or resignation. Paul Joseph Watson wrote about the quotes yesterday where Obama admitted it all in the New York Times. But guess what? It gets better. Just a week before, they attacked Trump saying, I believe Obama is behind the movements to block my administration and kick me out of office. And the media said, Trump's crazy. Look at him attacking a fellow president. There's no such thing going on. While it's all been organized. That leads us to the next issue. Obama administration rushed to preserve intelligence of Russian election hacking. That means saving it outside the administration. They go on to say transferring it to the media illegally. Remember, Trump said these are illegal leaks from Obama. It's criminal. And guess what? Obama didn't pardon himself for that. He illegally gave the couple phone calls made legally and the transcripts by Flynn to the media to start this thing going. And then now, see, you fed the pirate, Trump. You're a smart guy. But you tried to appease Pence and other Republicans, the same Republican establishment on the Hill that's out to get you, to show that you were going to be tough on Russia and to show you'd throw Flynn overboard. And now, Sessions is asked specifically, we are told about surrogates in the campaign that are talking to the Russians on a daily basis, and you're a surrogate. Do you have any knowledge of this? No, Senator, I don't, he said in the confirmation hearing. I played this yesterday. No, sir, I don't. And I'm a surrogate. We're not talking to the Russians. None of us that I know. Well, clearly, as a lawyer, he was asked, as a surrogate in the campaign, have you talked to the Russians? They'll tell you the first thing you're talking to lawyers is answer the question. Not, well, I haven't talked to him as a surrogate in the campaign, but I've talked to him in my capacity as a senator. They would say, objection non-responsive to a lawyer. I didn't ask you about as a senator. I asked you as about a surrogate in the campaign. And a lawyer, you can see Al Franken wrote that, knowing how to trick another lawyer. That's why lawyers kind of get in a rut, kind of in a brainwash mode, I've noticed, of their own brainwashing, their own soup. They've been cooked in their own juices. And that they just get so robotic about answering the question exactly as it was answered that then they sit there and give answers like they're in a deposition when they're in front of the Senate, and they use the fact that he answered it so truthfully and so exactly against him. Sessions laughs at it and says, look, I answered it exactly as I was asked. Notice that's lawyer speak. And they go, oh, but you met with the Russian ambassador twice. And he goes, well, yes, in my capacity as a senator. Still answer it like a lawyer. Exactly right. I'd say, everybody meets with him. This is outrageous. This is baloney. This is a joke. But see, he's a lawyer, and a good one. But he's damned if he does, he's damned if he doesn't. When we come back, though, turns out this ambassador is up the rear end of the Democrats. The meetings, we're going over the numbers right now with my research team. It looks like, from our preliminary research, it's 3-to-1 visits with the Democrats than Republicans in the... So we got the GOP running around eating their own. But if you go to drudgereport.com, you can see the big, fat, juicy photos, and we've got links on Infowars.com to the videos. I've got Owen Schroyer working on it right now. I've got Darren McBreen working on it. I've got the writers working on it. Just taking the name of the ambassador. Everybody can do this. Send out a type of reporter that has an idea, and then I sit on it. I don't even care if we break all this. I want other people to. I had this idea 3 days ago before this controversy broke to go show Hillary and Chucky and Obama with Putin and with the Russian ambassador and all the rest of it, just to show how dumb it is, so people understand Trump's going to meet with Putin. That's normal. We're going to show Ronald Reagan meeting with Gorbachev. Or other American presidents meeting with Russians. This is normal. They're not Russian agents as the head of the ranking member on the Armed Services Committee in the Senate. Of course Sessions met with him twice, and he's not being deceptive when he says on the campaign, we didn't meet or talk to the Russians. That's specifically answering the question. All that comes out of law, how judges, lawyers, and police inspectors want you to answer the question. He's the Attorney General. He knows how the Attorney General wants the questions answered absolutely the way they're asked. It's a religion of these lawyers. And they got him with it. It's sick because they know the public doesn't talk like that. Did you meet with the Russians in the campaign? No, I didn't. Oh, look, he lied. He met with them in the campaign. No, he didn't. He met with them as a U.S. senator who is supposed to meet with the Russian ambassador. Who do you think ambassadors meet with? And I know I'm stating obvious facts here. But we've got the videos. Russian Ambassador Sergei Kislyak appeared at the Obama White House visitor at least 22 times. He met with Chuck Schumer. That's on the record, too. Oh, flashback. Chuck Schumer meets with Putin in New York City. Russian Ambassador Kislyak attended Trump congressional speech Tuesday and sat with the Democrats. All of them need to be investigated. I mean, I think as a joke, we should just say it's not even fake news. Because they're saying investigate Trump. I say investigate all the Democrats for meeting with the Russians. But, you know, Hillary took money from Putin. And so did both Podesta brothers. And she was a Chinese communist spy. That's what she was really on the payroll for. So Trump needs to call for those investigations and strike back. Because they're actually foreign agents. Not Jeff Sessions. It's incredible. Trump's on Dems Sessions witch hunt. They lost the election, and now they've lost their grip on reality. Tucker Carlson, I watched it last night, grilled him. Kept going back saying, I get what you're saying, but why didn't you disclose it? Disclose it. It was on the record, on his Senate daily record, that he met with the Russian ambassador. There's nothing to disclose. That's his job. Before I go any further, I want to thank all the listeners for their prayers, their support. Our local affiliates as well deserve your support and your prayers. Please continue to support our local sponsors here on local radio. And please continue to buy the products at InfoWarsStore.com. We were kicked off Google Ads, off ad roll, for our political speech a week and a half ago, and it really hurt our budgeting for the next year, but we have already gained back half of the money we lost in the fundraiser drive, and I believe that in the future we'll gain back the rest. So thank you for really coming through. You're amazing. If you sign up for the free newsletter, Infowars.com/newsletter, you don't just get articles and exclusive videos. Every day you get 50% off a different product. Today it's going to be Living Defense, 50% off retail when you sign up for the newsletter. It's highly rated Living Defense Harmful Organism Cleanser. It gets the Parasite Cleanse by Infowars Live, 50% off retail when you sign up for Infowars newsletter today at Infowars.com/newsletter. Toxic organisms are known to rob your body of nutrition and toxify your digestive tissues, weakness, weight problems, you name it. Living Defense uses organic herbs and enzymes to help naturally cleanse harmful organisms from the body. Somebody works here who's been sick for years in the gut. I got him to take a bottle of it. Been sick for a decade. All the problems are over. Regularity, everything. Living Defense, one bottle. The probiotic helps. Our biome defense. InfoWarsLife.com. Stay with us. Thank you for the support. This hour is going to be unbelievably jam-packed. We've got David Knight with key intel dealing with the whole Sessions situation, popping in at the 24 after short segment. Then Owen Schroyer's coming in to look at the dehumanization of our population with key intel on how to counter that. In fact, will you guys print me the article? There was another article out just this week about, I meant to get to it on Monday, about screen time causing brain damage and causing children to have all sorts of neurological disorders. I mean, everybody already knows this, but it was a new big study. I meant to add that together with it. And then Darren McBreen yesterday said, I'm doing the news tomorrow, and I'm going to have a special report, the nightly news, on Friday night. He said, I'm going to have a special report with something that I don't think anybody's aware of. And it was actually in mainstream news and government documents, but it didn't get any attention. And it's huge. I mean, when I say huge, I have a tendency just to drop bombshell after bombshell and just not say, hey, this is really big. Or this is literally the future of humanity. But that's what we're dealing with here. My head is spinning at this point because I over-prepare at home. And when I get down here, there's so much to cover. And then I had two big articles I wanted to get to as well that dealt with how the elite are preparing for total collapse and mass crises and mass die-offs. I need the Bloomberg article, guys. You may have brought it in here. I don't see it. The one about how they're preparing for doomsday scenarios. That's going to tie into Owen Schroyer. There it is. AI scientists gathered to plot doomsday scenarios and solutions. This is all really serious. See, again, everything I've told you for 21 years is now coming true because it was already true. Everything they've basically got now, they had in the laboratory 20, 25 years ago. They're now just decided it's going to be rolled out and deployed to the people, and then they're trying to form this whole in-game cosmology with the public's mind so that when all this basically comes into place, we will accept it culturally, believing that it's a foregone conclusion. And Trump is like a giant hammer being thrown into this huge crystal structure, this viral structure of human exterminism, and he's already blown giant holes in it. And all of us now are beavering away to expose it and bring it down. When I say burn this global system down, I don't mean burn a single building down or kill even a single person. I mean the political systems of control and deceit and fraud and crony capitalism that are designed to dumb the population down and transfer wealth to the elites and just burn and destroy wealth to consolidate control is the true public admitted enemy. And they've worked so hard to hide this thing, and we don't need to sit here and let them dominate the future. Again, the average person is really gets obsessed about football games or having a better car than somebody they don't like at work, or they get into arguments with their neighbors, then neighbors will hate each other for, a decade. It's all stupid chicken, what stuff. Chicken crap. The globalists are openly manipulating our DNA. They're giving us cancer. They're poisoning us. They write books about it. They write documents about it. They're super uncool. And I feverishly want to beat them. I want to see them defeated. I want to see them destroyed with every ounce of my will. And I know that if we set those brush fires in the minds of men and women everywhere and they research what we've seen, they don't believe me, but actually go and see that I'm telling them the truth, that we together will burn this thing down. I'm Alex Jones. This is the Infowar. The website's Infowars.com. Have you spread that URL today? We have got some really bombshell news. And if President Trump doesn't do something about this, and if Sessions doesn't do something about this right now, for the first time, I am going to start getting very, very critical of Trump. And I don't know what I'm going to do, because he's so good on trying to get the economy going, on trying to get small business loans going, on getting small businesses to invest in the stock market to drive it up now almost $3 trillion, in exposing political correctness, in defending Christianity, in fighting radical Islam, in promoting Americana, in signing an executive order to not fine families $5,000 for not having Obamacare. I mean, so many good things, turning all our coal power plants back on, letting our coal miners get back to work. We have the best, cleanest coal in the world. He's doing so much good when it comes to actually serving the people and dismantling globalism and transferring industry and jobs and humanity back to the people, not handouts to control them. But then he won't do anything other than tweet, and the media bullies that and acts like it's wrong that he fight back against lies and act like it's weird when he exposes them. But what I'm about to get to, it's worse than we thought. We knew the Justice Department got caught in Florida with Justice Department high-level operatives in emails on the ground trying to cause riots and trying to stir up the Trayvon Martin tragedy to create the whole racial division that we now saw peak in the last year. But ladies and gentlemen, Fox News is reporting, and they've got the documents. This is so illegal. Obama transferred billions of dollars through Eric Holder and the Department of Justice. We're getting the video report right now. Post this video report to Infowars.com right now, guys. Infowars.com. Post it to our site. Tweet it out right now. Obama DOJ funded billions to liberal activist groups. We're going to play this clip in a moment. Billions of dollars. That is so illegal to have the Justice Department give money to groups secretly, period, political groups, to have the government funding its own party the party in power, funding its own party, and then to give it to activist groups that are running around saying kill cops and overthrow government. This is the government forming sedition against local and state governments to cause a civil war. And it ties in with everything I covered yesterday. Holder foretells the return of Obama. He's coming, and he's ready to roll. This is announced in Politico, the New York Times, you name it, like he's God. Obama's goal to oust Trump from presidency via impeachment or resignation. Mounting insurgency. Paul Joseph Watson quotes the Daily Mail reports and the New York Times with them admitting they leaked the intelligence documents, with them admitting they gave the New York Times the made-up Russia dossier stuff with some real leaked illegal intelligence in there, confirming what Trump said weeks ago, that he believes it's Obama leaking the illegal information. Well, now it's admitted, and that's illegal as well. They're completely committing crimes, doing whatever they want, and Sessions has recused himself from the made-up Russia investigation, so he can't expose the real crime of the leaks, and a prosecutor appointed by Obama, who's anti-Trump, is going to lead it now. Can you believe that? Trump is allowing himself to be absolutely encircled because he's a businessman. He understands how it works. He's trying to flood you with prosperity so that you'll get off the poison tit of the New World Order. But it's going to be too little too late if they've picked off his whole cabinet and are moving forward to kill him or impeach him, as the former president admits he wants to do. Whoa. The Obama administration funneled billions of dollars to activist organizations through a Department of Justice slush fund scheme. And of course, he just exposed they had a slush fund of 100-something billion, 180-something billion of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac they stole for Obamacare and actually gave to select corporations that were over it. I mean, this is incredible. It's clear partisan politics played a role in the illicit actions, how about illegal, that were made. Representative John Ratcliffe of Texas told Fox News the DOJ is the last place this should have occurred. Wow. But it's so criminal, they're even timid about it, see? You wonder why the globalists are so arrogant. They've already committed so many crimes. They've already gotten away with so much. They think they can push the American people and Trump and everybody else around. They can meet with the Russian ambassador and do all they want, but if anybody with Trump does, it's the end of the world. They just do whatever they want because nobody has ever knocked them on their ass politically. They're like the punk bully in some small town that's been beating up kids half his age for 6, 7 years, and then finally somebody gets off at the bus stop to visit grandma, and the bully comes over and punches them in the face, and the bully 2 seconds later has got their head bouncing up and down off the concrete. That's the metaphor. I don't literally mean bash Nancy Pelosi's head in the ground. The point is that all these arrogant people are writing political checks they can't cash. If we simply stand up to them, I am blown away right now. My head is spinning. Huckabee's come out and railed. He says it's worse than a mafia shakedown. Absolutely. Good job, Huckabee, saying it's criminal. Man, this is unbelievable. Trump, I love you to death. And I'm sure you know what you're doing, man. You're smarter than I am in many ways, but let me tell you something. Justice be done, may the heavens fall. We need you to pull the trigger. We have the clip. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the biggest thing. And I keep saying every few days this is the biggest thing ever. But when it comes to corruption, I'm not getting chills right now. I feel hot, like I'm on fire. I'm in absolute kick-ass mode. I mean, I am on fire with this. The indignation here. I mean, this is unbelievable. Whoa. Every hair in my body just stood up on end. Let's go to the clip. Go ahead and go to it.
Well, somebody ought to go to prison for this. I mean, this is worse than a mafia shakedown, because at least if the mafia shakes you down for protection, your store doesn't burn down. But this is a case where the liberals have played Robin Hood.
By the way, hit pause. Rewind it. The transcript of Huckabee is another article. I didn't even know Huckabee came out and said somebody should go to jail for this. Because that's exactly, folks, this is open and shut, illegally transferred money by the billions. It was worse. It wasn't just Soros. It was them the whole time. The Obama saying, let's have racial unity, while he was pushing all the Black Lives Matter groups and the rest of it, and cops getting killed everywhere. And the Strong Cities Initiative with the UN, they thought they were going to have some, you know, uprising of the minorities once Hillary got in, and a big race war, and that the feds would come in and he'd be the new Lincoln and they'd secure order. It didn't happen like that. Trump's in now, but they're going ahead with their whole program despite that. And Obama's moved in down the street and says, well, they don't even say in the New York Times, turns out Trump's right. Obama is behind the plan to overthrow him. There's a new survey out. 98% of news coverage is anti-Trump when it's mainstream, yeah. But then they have CNN say on Monday, we never have any biases. We don't root for a president. These people think we're idiots. I mean, it's incredible. They're delusional. They've lost control of themselves and everything else. But what's dangerous is they don't get it. It's like a chemistry reaction when you pour two things together or three things together and they blow up. This is so dangerous. And Huckabee absolutely gets it. I mean, I know the federal law. I know Bush almost got indicted for just, you know, money being transferred to the media to put out pro-drug reform ads. This is directly to activists to go burn stuff down. Findings period by the Judiciary Committee point to a process shrouded in secrecy whereby monies were distributed to a labyrinth of nonprofit organizations involved with grassroots activism. And remember, they wouldn't give one 501c3 in the last 4 years of Obama's administration to a conservative or libertarian or veteran or gun group. But all to their groups they gave it. There is and then they give them the money. There is a recent effort by the Republicans to eliminate the practice, eliminate it, arrest their ass, which many believe was widely abused during the Obama administration. With big banks who are being sued by the government for discrimination or mortgage abuse, they can settle the cases by donating to third-party non-activists. But they call them, you know, non-activist victims. The settlements do not specify how the third-party groups could use the windfall. So far, investigators have found and accounted for $3 billion paid to non-victim entities. Critics say banks are incentivized to donate the funds to nonprofits rather than giving it to customers. Yeah, Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan are the biggest funders of Black Lives Matter. Google it. And Facebook and Twitter, because they're the big mega banks and big mega tech overthrowing our country. They're the globalists. They're the global power, pointing at the Russians that can hardly get up on their knees and saying they're running America and running Trump. Baloney. Skip the break. I mean, I knew Black Lives Matter got $100 million this year from, you know, foundations. Those are tax-exempt globalist groups. Wow. So Obama admits, media say, wow, Trump was right last week when he said that. Oh, no, he's still wrong. We're going to bring David Knight in here right now. You can go ahead and bring his chair and get his mic up. I'm going to go ahead and just take a pause just for a minute. It's just so outrageous that if we don't finally do something about these people, if they don't start going to jail, if some political heads don't start rolling, they're going to set the precedent to do anything, and their minions are already emboldened, where the outgoing head of the CIA, 3 days before the president is sworn in, says, you ought to watch your mouth. You better watch your mouth to the president of the United States. What type of crazy, out of control, arrogant loon does that? But see, he's got the big banks and all the elites and the foreign governments and the Republican establishment and the Democratic establishment, and all these scumbags get together in their traitorous councils. And they believe that they can do anything together because they see Trump as isolated. He's not isolated, scumbags. Let that be a warning to you. The American people and the military and most of the intelligence agencies and most of the people in the FBI and other groups know now that they've got to choose a side, that the globalists are about austerity. They are about sexual exploitation of children. They are about all these forms of corruption and weirdness and just bad for business, bad for prosperity, and men who aren't even perfect but have some humanity left must absolutely go after these people. People are like, well, they're dangerous. They're a mafia. They kill people. Look, they're killing all the Russian. You know what? At some point, people got to stand up around here. This is the battle for the Republic. Our men will go and fight and die most of the time just so globalist corporations can come in. We go take Iraq out. The Chinese and the French get all the oil. And then they blame us and say we did it for the oil. We did it for globalism and to take down that country for Saudi Arabia. I'm not against the troops that were manipulated into that war. They followed orders. It's the globalists that did that. But I'm Machiavellian enough to go read their own documents to know what they're doing. This isn't my opinion. They think you're so stupid. They admit it all. Let's get that out right now. The globalists are public. Wesley Clark, 10 years ago, in 2 different speeches, who was the head of NATO at the time, he just had retired, went public and said there's a plan to topple these countries and then destabilize Europe and flood everybody, and it's not a good idea. And Wesley Clark's no goody two-shoes. These plans are so diabolical, so evil, that even corrupt people don't want to be part of it because they're like, we already ruled the world. We're already going to get all the life extension. Why would we want to do this? Well, you're just not twisted enough like the globalists to get their full plan. Their spirit, their God demands they do all this before they get empowered. Now, listen, I only plugged for like 30 seconds last hour. I skipped these breaks, you name it, because I'm so hot on the subjects. But I need your support. We've got great products, great water filtration, great non-GMO heirloom seeds, great nutraceuticals, great supplements, great Patriot apparel to spread the word and meet like-minded people. The very best reusable air filtration masks are in as well, and so much more at InfoWarsStore.com or InfoWarsLife.com. Now, we just ended the big mega sale, but we got a lot of other new sales that are going as well. We did sell out of all the Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump lithographs. Those are gone. We're about to sell out of the Tennessee firearms, lowers for M4s, the very best out there, laser etched with Republic Reborn, 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. There are only a couple hundred left of those of the 1 out of 1,000. It is a collector's item. Again, you drill this out. This is your heirloom. This is for you. That's how you legally have it. We have the ATF letter there. Still check your local laws. It's all there, InfoWarsStore.com. Or call toll-free, 888-253-3139. Those are about to be sold out at InfoWarsStore.com. But so you can make your own hobby ghost gun, as they call them, that is yours, and not in the system, so things go south, they can confiscate. And I'm not trying to scare people, but you now see how high the stakes are. If we don't defeat the globalists now and really turn the tide, there's going to be a hot war period that they're starting. They're coming after us, where it's going to get very, very bad before it gets better. But we have the momentum. Humanity now knows who the enemy is, so no matter what they do, they're still going to be defeated. People now are aware of the government above the government. They're aware of the elites. They're aware of the TPP. Trump just killed it. All over the world, people are saying no to the globalists. I know you know that, but everyone must understand this is a super legendary, historical, epic, game-changing crossroads, fulcrum of humanity's destiny that we now stand in the middle of. This is legend. Be part of it. We're looking for good men and women who do love God, who want to be strong and want to stand for what's right, and whose spirits burn to stand against this evil. Like a caller said a few days ago, Trump is like a lighthouse in a hurricane with ships trying to come in, and the enemy's trying to blow that light out. Trump's not perfect. I'm not perfect, but he's real. He's done so many good things. The enemy is throwing everything they can against him. Pray for President Trump. Pray for Infowars. Pray for the free press, the Vanguard, the Cutting Edge, Drudge Report, Infowars, Tip of the Spear. Pray for my family. Pray for me. I say that selfishly because I want to carry out this mission, and I know the power is in your prayer to God. Pray for our crew. We're praying for you, and I'm praying for justice. Get Living Defense, Parasite Cleanse, 50% off at InfoWarsLife.com. When you get the promo code by signing up for our free newsletter, we're sending out the promo code today at 4 o'clock, 50% off Living Defense, Parasite Cleanse. Also, again, we're selling out of those lowers, and that'll be it for that one-of-a-kind design. We have a lot of other great things at InfoWarsStore.com, and we have the new shirt. Trump Pence 2020, Infowars.com on the back. America First in 1776, Keep America Great. That's going to be the new hit shirt. People love it. We're selling a lot of them. They're $9.95. We need that $4 or so we make to fund the operation. Order it. Give it to friends. Give it to family. Don't wait. Infowarsstore.com or 888-253-3139. And, you know, Owen's coming in here, but we can have a roundtable discussion and just keep you in here with us. But I want him to be able to focus on this because I don't want you to just have 3 minutes, David, and I drug you in here. You were making some really great points. You were hot in the hall. And David don't usually get hot, but everybody's hot right now because you can feel the battle really heating right up to the next level. They're, as I said months ago, they're just trying to demonize Trump as a Russian agent before they blow him up. They'll drop a bomb on the White House, folks. These people are crazed demons, crazed criminals. They're not going to back off. We'll get to the latest that you wanted to cover when we come back in the next segment with Owen and then get into his story of dehumanization. But you've got some key intel that ties into all this, you know, on the claims that he's meeting with the Russians and he's bad. But what do you just make of $3 billion through the big banks, through the Justice Department, fenced, given to all the Black Lives Matter groups? We knew the Justice Department was running it, but wow, funding it. This is illegal.
Well, you know, Alex, we've seen Eric Holder's Justice Department say that they're not going to prosecute the Black Panthers who were threatening people with baseball bats.
New Black Panthers.
Yeah, the new Black Panthers. Just recently with the Obama election. Oh, we're not going to do that. You're going to stand there at a polling place and threaten people who are white to come in there, and you're not going to prosecute that. So we knew where they were. We knew this kind of stuff was going on. And Alex, I got to say, too, as we see these continuing revelations coming out, where do they always start? The stuff about Flynn, the stuff about Sessions, all these accusations about Russia. This looks like Watergate, doesn't it? It's coming from the Washington Post. The people who have a connection now with the CIA, if open financial connection.
600 million.
Exactly. 600 million we have.
And that's
Jeff
what
Bezos.
we know about.
Yeah.
$3 billion to the commies you see running around the streets everywhere. They're all paid for.
That's right.
They all think like little punk college kids that they're about to take over and actually rule us. That's why they're on power trips. They tell me, we're taking over, we're going to kill everybody. No, you're not, dumbass. You better hope we take this thing back peacefully. You little punks are looking for a fight. You don't have any idea. Go ahead.
Well, you know, we've got with the Washington Post, Jeff Bezos buys it for $250 million, and immediately he gets a $600 million contract with the CIA to run their data services and dwarfs what he just paid for the Washington Post. And where do all these leaks from the surveillance state attacking the Trump administration?
Illegal leaks.
Exactly.
And Trump said it was Obama. The media said he was insane. And then he's in the New York Times yesterday and Obama admitting he did it. Because they know Trump's going to bring it out, so they hide it in plain view.
It's Watergate.
Trump's been absolutely on target.
Yeah.
But I'm not mad at Trump, but he needs to go on offense now. I mean, you know, it's his duty.
Right. That's right. And so we're going to talk about when we come back briefly. I want to talk about McCain. Why isn't anybody looking at John McCain, the fact that he just had another secret meeting with ISIS rebels, okay? This is in...
He did not the one 4 years ago. Not the one two. He just went back to meet with the opposition of our military, and we believe from the intel he's the one that leaked the Yemen raid to make Trump look bad.
Exactly.
Let me tell you, Trump, take the gloves off. The American people are going to back you 100%. These are inside traitors. These are seditious. These are Benedict Arnolds. Take the gloves off, and I mean all the way off. They want a sedition and overthrow a civil war. It's the president's duty to cut the head off this thing for the republic right now. Now, we've got documents from Congress, and we've got reports, and we've got admissions hiding in plain view coming up in the next hour that I had no idea would dovetail into what just broke from the Congressional Judiciary Committee that's investigating all this, the Democrats. And then you look at what just came out of the judiciary to the White House to Jerome Corsi, where Obamacare stole $189 billion that we know of so far out of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac of private investment, and then just told them their investment failed when people invested in the government housing market deal, thinking it'd be a good investment like government bonds to get money back. They just stole it from investors and looted it to prop up Obamacare. That's a bunch of insurance companies and banks robbing everything. I mean, look.
Got more coverage from what Jerome, that was amazing investigation that Corsi did. And it was outright criminal act. They were taking preferred stock. They were supposed to get 10% off of these Fannie and Freddie mortgages. Instead, they took all of it, swept it in the general fund, then moved it into Obamacare because Obamacare... That's
a bail-in. That's how they do them here.
Exactly.
You know, in Greece or wherever, they just grab it out of your bank account, or Cyprus. But let's expand. This is what we're starting to learn. This is what the White House is leaking out to folks. So I guess Trump is fighting back. The problem is it's not even getting out there in the conservative media. Then let's expand. Then we learn that Obama's moved into a bunker. He wants to overthrow Trump. He's the leaker. All that's illegal. They hide it in everybody's, face, just, again, plain view. Nothing's done. And then we learn the latest. DOJ, Obama's DOJ funneled billions to liberal activist groups illegally. And here is Fox News contributor, former governor of Arkansas, Mike Huckabee, breaking it down. Let's start from the beginning, because he says they need to go to jail. Absolutely. Here it is.
Somebody ought to go to prison for this. I mean, this is worse than a mafia shakedown, because at least if the mafia shakes you down for protection, your store doesn't burn down. But this is a case where the liberals have played Robin Hood. They've stolen from the government, the taxpayers, and they've given it to their pals. It's really outrageous. And I think that part of it that is so frustrating, imagine, for example, if under a Republican Department of Justice, the Department of Justice had allocated money to the National Right to Life, or if they'd allocated it to the NRA. Can you imagine how that would have gone over with the Democrats? I don't think very well.
First Amendment, Congress can't be involved.
Senator Langford,
Hit pause for a moment and then back it up 10 seconds. Think about that. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or freedom of the press, or the right to peacefully assemble or redress of grievances. Government cannot get involved in funding the speech it wants to hear. That means religious or political or anything else. Okay, it's all protected, and the government doesn't have jurisdiction. And so instead, they're illegally funding anti-American globalist groups. This is unbelievable. And what's unbelievable is we just keep learning more and more and more and more. Meanwhile, the big scandal, we'll go into this now. I want to finish the clip, or part of it. And we're going to get to this, is Sessions as a senator, as the ranking member of the Armed Services Committee, publicly met. It was on his record on the Senate site that he had a meeting twice with the Russian ambassador. I went and looked it up. Schumer had many more last year than that. It's on there. It turns out this guy likes the Democrats, sat with them in the inauguration. It turns out he's buddies with Pelosi. It turns out he's buddies with everybody. It turns out Obama had 20-plus meetings with him last year as well. But Sessions has 2. And he's a Russian agent and lied when he was asked specifically. Franken read it, obviously by a lawyer. Frank is not that smart. Knowing Sessions is a lawyer, we're told that in the press that surrogates on the campaign met with Russians about the campaign. He said, no, I'm a surrogate. I'm one of the top surrogates. Nobody met about the campaign with Russians. And they go, oh, you lied. You met with a Russian. Not in the campaign capacity. You ask a lawyer. You ask the head of the DOJ.
That's right.
At that time being confirmed, and he gives you the perfect lawyer answer that a judge or a detective wants. He gave you the absolute boom spot truth that in the campaign, in that function, no meeting with the Russians. That they turned that total truth into a lie, while Hillary and her people are all on the Russian and communist Chinese payroll. And I had former congressman, ranking member on the House, or vice head of the Armed Services and Homeland Security Committee, telling you he saw the secret documents, and Hillary's basically a Russian agent and a Chinese agent, and he's getting ready to bring it out. Now, he hadn't come back on yet. He kind of blew up on air. He stomped out during the break, like just angry, and said, I'm going public, Alex. Well, okay, Kurt Weldon, we need you. Because they're threatening him, going, don't you release that classified hearings. They had classified hearings, and they decided it was too bad for the country to come out that Hillary was a Chinese communist agent. She was paid off by the Russians, but they weren't running her. I've had former high-level and current CIA people say, yes, Alex, you're right. Hillary is a Chinese agent. And it's come out, though. It was in the news. They're Chinese communist agents. Forget the Russians. Okay, the Russians have a lot of great science. They're great people. They got a lot of corruption, though. They have the GDP of Italy, folks. The Russians aren't the threat. The Chinese communists are out of control, and they've bought off our government. And this whole thing about Trump is to restore America. Do you understand that the intelligence agencies, or branches of them that are patriots, are the ones that rebelled against this alliance with China and the communists and the Wahhabist Islamists and said, that's too far. We're getting behind the people. And Trump was put in by the voters and the patriots in our government, not the Russians. Trump was put in by Alex Jones and the listeners of this broadcast and Matt Drudge. He was not put in by the Russians. Go ahead, David. I'm sorry.
Alex, when they did this to Flynn, I said, what they have just done is a self-inflicted wound while they're swimming in water with sharks. And they're going to come after them again. And that's precisely what they're doing, trying to twist this into something that it wasn't. As you point out, he said, yeah, I'm in Washington. There's a Russian ambassador in Washington. I meet with him a couple of times. We didn't talk about the campaign. And I think the same thing is true of Flynn. When this was, he's talking to him.
Same thing. It's all admitted. No, once he stood down, they go, oh, of course it was no big deal.
Yeah. And then they talk about, oh, the Logan Act. The Logan Act, you're trying to undermine Obama's foreign policy. You know who's trying to undermine
That's meeting
policy?
privately for business in a non-governmental capacity.
Right, but the Logan Act is trying to change the foreign policy, working against the official foreign policy. McCain is not the Secretary of State. McCain is not the president. We just had him go at the end of February.
That's right. He doesn't have the authority on his own mission, not sanctioned by Congress, to have a secret mission to meet with al-Nusra, ISIS, and al-Qaeda, promising that they're going to, hold on, we're going to get you aid, block the American and Russian operations sanctioned by the president of Russia and the U.S. together to destroy this al-Qaeda force. That's the name, the real name. This little traitor runs over there, runs back. The thing put photos up of him with the leaders. Here, let's show TV viewers. Tell folks.
That's right here.
So forget him meeting with the radical Islamicists that are fighting our military. That's okay. That's okay. Go ahead and show it. TV viewers.
Going back to when this was back in 2013, he tweeted out pictures of himself there with them. We said, look, these people are not moderate rebels. Now, whether or not these are al-Qaeda
they're the al-Nusra people, that's the same group.
The fact is, afterwards, he came back and talked about Rand Paul. He says, has Rand Paul ever been to Syria? Has he ever met with ISIS? Has he ever met with any of these people? No, no, no. In other words, I have. And what he's saying is that he went and met with the Free Syrian Army. He said, there's about 70% who are still Free Syrian Army. Well, other people who defense consultants say, no, that was only about 30% at the time. That's a generous measure. But look, we know that they were giving weapons to ISIS. It's been revealed over and over again. Now, whether or not he was working against Obama's policy, you can say maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was secretly putting that policy in.
No, McCain was behind it. That was admitted.
But what we have now...
McCain was there behind the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly. And what we have now, I'm saying in the most charitable interpretation of this,
but we already know.
We know that he was working to create ISIS. What he's doing now, he just went February 28th, another secret trip. Now, this is clearly, there's no way by any stretch of the imagination that you could say
he's there to work against U.S. military forces.
Precisely.
The word is he's the leaker, and this is what people are looking into. You better watch out, McCain. He's the leaker on the last target so that our people would get caught to embarrass Trump, just like the CIA in the Bay of Pigs.
That's right. So he goes there, they get weapons. We know he's meeting with ISIS back in 2014. Snopes on the left say,
McCain is meeting with our enemies right now, working against President Trump.
Exactly. What he did on the 28th, he goes there, and as ABC points out, this is a secret trip that he made and then talked about it afterwards, and he is criticizing Trump's policy towards this at the same time, and then right after he leaves, Turkey cuts off Syria's water supply. Look, you have to understand that regime change is not the same as defeating ISIS. And he's still criticizing Trump's policy.
Look, the
he's
point
working
is,
against Trump's policy.
Absolutely.
Why is this okay for him to meet with ISIS and undermine Trump? And it's not okay for Jeff Sessions to talk to somebody and...
Sure, because we keep having real debates with MSM like they care, like they're rational, like they're listening. They're just there to spew lies, disinformation, and garbage, and basically try to brainwash the American people into going along with this. But I don't see it working. But I got to tell you, they're very bold. We can show people drudgereport.com and Infowars.com to show Sergei Kislyak, who's met with Hillary, who's met with Obama scores of times, who's met with Schumer, who's met with them all, to now say it's bad that the Republicans meet with them, and then there's Schumer with Vladimir Putin. I mean, they really think we're stupid to now say that the Trump government can't ever talk to the Russians. I mean, to see this weird hyper-McCarthyism, because real McCarthyism wasn't what they called McCarthyism. This is true authoritarian, blacklisting, shutting down the news, calling people foreign agents, a foreign power. A few minutes on that, then we're going to Owen Schroyer.
Well, you know, Alex, you're absolutely right. The real threat is China. And we all know that this is a smokescreen. We all know that this is not really...
And you know about China. You've been to China. Your daughter's adopted from China. You're an engineer that works with Chinese.
You know, they're even talking now about changing the one-child policy because they've created this massive demographic time bomb. They have so many young men who are coming of age who don't even have wives because they've had this one-child policy. And so China has got a time bomb. They need a war. And they need to have something to distract against this. They're very adventurous. You see this in the South China Sea. They are ramping up their military spending.
Well, you know where they're sending their men? They're setting up giant colonies in Africa. And they're marrying African women, and they're just everywhere.
Yeah.
I talk to special forces people all the time that are in Africa. You can see it in the news, too. And it's like everywhere you go, there's Chinese men with their African wives. And it's, I mean, a huge colonization. I mean, millions of Chinese men, military.
Yeah.
Are going in, running farms, mining. They are taking over Africa. Africa's being absorbed by China as its industrial base and its food base.
And as its mineral resource base. Africa is so heavily involved with minerals that they need to understand that that is a strategic move by China to get these precious metals that they can't get in large quantity elsewhere. So,
but how dare Trump try to come in here and try to restore our republic and actually get Americans to run America and have a few things to help our workers and try to stop all the social engineering to make us disintegrate. We've known Obama was trying to balkanize America and trying to start a race war. Now we know $3 billion was given by the Justice Department illegally to do it. That's now on Infowars.com. Thank you, David Knight.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for coming in. I wanted to get him in. And now until 8 after next hour, Owen Schroyer will be with us. And then we're going to have Darren McBreen join us in studio to talk about a huge story that's not getting any attention that ties into all this. It turns out, I'm going to give you a little tidbit right now. Mainstream newspapers and mainstream Hollywood firms are the main group, and I'd always suspected this, putting out the truly fake news websites that put out incredible disinformation against myself, against Ron Paul, against President Trump, and others over the years. And then they even point at themselves and say, look at how horrible this fake news is, saying this person was dead or this or that happened. And get this, they're also making money off of it. So it's worse than we even knew. They literally run the fake news sites. They then use the worst examples, have people from the fake news sites that they fund go on NPR and say, I'm a fake news guy, like Alex Jones, and then speak for me. Man, this is such a deceptive, manipulative thing. We've got to stop this. We've got to do something about this. These people have got to be stood up against. I mean, they've been caught lying over the years, so they're just quadrupling down. Now, speaking of dehumanization, I've got several articles I want to get to here coming up at the start of the next segment that really ties into what Owen's about to hit on. And we've got the article that we're going to be showing on screen, so we can scroll through that for TV viewers. But they're not just degenerating the family. They're not just saying there's 100 new genders, and if you're male or female, that's bad because that hurts people that are the other genders. So the original gender is hurtful, so that can't exist. They're now having body augmentation or changes that's going past people getting all these face surgeries and things until they look like the cat lady. It's now saying, oh, I'm an alien. I'm not even human. I'm a celebrity. It's turning yourself into a carnival show, Barker, a carnival show, freak show, so that's how you, quote, make a living, is not being part of the human system, so humans look at you and think there's something wrong with you. And what the system's doing is taking mental illness, in many cases, and also making it fashionable and cool. This is another psychological virus they admit that they've injected into society to confuse everyone. Then they have the corporate media hold it up as if it's something beautiful and powerful to further accelerate the downfall of civilization. But humans can organize together, recognize the disease and the filth, the poison grapes, the poison berries, and teach others not to eat of them and go away from the poison fruit. We're right back in the Garden of Eden. We had the knowledge of good. We weren't dumb. It's the knowledge of evil is the virus of mental illness. Owen Schroyer, break down this latest story.
Well, the story that I think you're referencing is the guy who turned himself into a genderless alien, and he had a bunch of surgery to make himself look like, I guess, an alien. He's got weird facial construction surgery and weird body surgery. And you know, Alex, I got a lot of flack hosting the 4th hour of this show earlier this week because I was, quote unquote, fat shaming a woman. But no, what I was actually upset about is exactly what you just alluded to. Look, if somebody wants to go out and mutilate their body and transform into whatever it is that they think that it is they want to be, and that's going to make them happy, and there's a doctor out there that's going to do that surgery, then you know what? It's going to happen. And as far as I can tell, they have the right to do that. My issue is exactly what you just said. It's the corporate media. It's the Yahoos, the Googles, the Facebooks.
They're force feeding this to our kids. Every new Disney movie comes out, says, if boys and boys are kissing, girls and girls are kissing, it's a force feeding.
So it's like instead of covering this story and being like, well, this is a little weird. Is this really what we want people doing? Is this healthy? Why is this person doing it? They're like, wow, look at this. It's original. It's cool. It's hip. And the kids will be like, wow, that's cool. That's hip. I want to be a genderless alien. Or the story on Yahoo that I was referring to, this girl puts on a bunch of weight and Yahoo promotes her saying, look at her. She's not ashamed of being fat. She's standing up for the fact that she put up weight. She's proud of it.
Or this woman had the state paid for her to have bleach dumped in her eyes. She identified as being a blind woman. Or this, 60-year-old guy identifies as a 4-year-old girl.
You can't even script this stuff, Alex. And it's like you said earlier on the show, it's everything that you've talked about over the last 2 decades, all coming in at one time. And it's like, how do you even possibly cover all of this stuff? I've got all of this news on my desk showing the double standard of all of these Russian claims that Russia is influencing Trump's presidency or Russia's influencing Sessions. But then, of course, you got to fight the battle that Barack Obama is moving billions of dollars throughout the government. You've got to fight the fact that they're pushing alien genderless people on the youth, putting it on the front page of these news publications. So it's like, what? How do you even pick your battle? They're coming at us from all angles.
And meanwhile, they're saying, don't show images in campus of a normal gender woman or man because that's hurtful.
Or National Geographic, a woman doesn't exist.
I mean, this is on, folks. This is a full assault on humanity by the globalists. Zuckerberg, Schmidt, all of them are your enemies. Folks are fighting back right now. We're going to collate a whole bunch of photos of Hillary and Chuck Schumer and everybody else meeting with Putin, meeting with the Russian ambassador. Drudge has got the big piece up there with Putin and Schumer. It's incredible. Here's a new one. WikiLeaks, Hillary Clinton bragged about being invited to Putin's inner sanctum, meeting with him secretly. Putin urges voters to back Bush. Vladimir Putin called John McCain nuts. Just some of these reports I've got here. It's just crazy how they're playing on the public's ignorance, acting like Sessions has to go. But the big issue is, why did Sessions recuse himself from the Russia investigation? Now a prosecutor appointed by Obama is going to be over it. So that's why the State Department's just ignoring Tillerson's orders. That's why the Justice Department's been ignoring Attorney General Sessions' orders, is because they're planning on kicking Trump out, folks. They just knew they couldn't do it day one because there was a landslide, and they knew the public was awake and angry and knew what was happening. They had to bring Trump in and then start the discrediting, start the lying, start the false reports. Trump hit him super fast, accelerating what he could do to try to turn the jobs back on and stop the economic implosion. They admittedly tried an implosion, but they failed. So this is just an incredible battle, and Trump has to come out with Sessions and everybody else and say, you're the Russian agents, you're the Chinese agents, have press conferences with Kurt Weldon and others, bring out the documents, and point out that Obama's given illegal leaks to the news that are even fake information. It's just all there. This is so incredible. The level of this has gotten so unbelievable. And then they're caught giving $3 billion of stolen investor money to activist groups against the country, the Justice Department. No wonder Loretta Lynch met illegally on that plane with Obama with Clinton when he was under investigation, because they're crooks. Owen Schroyer, getting back into this, I've got some news I want to cover in the next hour. I haven't gotten to it yet that ties into the elites meeting for doomsday scenarios. Yeah, doomsday scenarios they're planning. That's Bloomberg. We talk about this, but everything we've talked about, I'm not bragging, it's crazy, is now front and center. I mean, if it keeps getting this wild every day, where does your gut tell you this is going? Well, we've talked about this before, and I think that despite all of the madness that we have in this political cycle right now, despite all of the madness we have in the news, I think that's still the #1 thing to me, and it's obviously what the elite are thinking. That's what they're meeting with. I mean, this is all real for them too. All this Russia stuff, all the news cycle, they're in this world too, but they're having meetings about biotech weapons. They're having, Bill Gates is coming out warnings about tens of millions that could possibly die from some guy on a computer screen making a virus. If you don't accept global corporate private government based on, quote, a medical tyranny.
So let's just focus on this double standard with the Russians real quick, though, Alex, because you came in today and you were like, hey, we know that they got all these double standards. Go find some stuff for me. So we got this news. I mean, look at these headlines. Russia, Obama meets with Vladimir Putin. Russian ambassador Sergei Kislyak appeared as Obama White House at least 22 times. Is Obama a Russian agent? I mean, I don't hear any claims that Obama is a Russian agent. How about this? Russia ambassador and Chuck Hagel visit the University of Nebraska. Is Chuck Hagel a Russian agent? I mean, this was a guy that had a lot of power. Where are the stories on that?
You're supposed to talk to ambassadors and diplomats, and we've already covered those exactly. But what I want from the crew, because I went and looked it up and saw it, is I want to go show all the other times Democrats were with Putin or with this ambassador, because they're showing photos of Republicans with him, thinking the public's stupid and thinking that's illegal. Or they're claiming Sessions lied when he told the truth, saying not in a capacity in the campaign. We'll be back. You know, Trump told the Attorney General of the state, when you guys pull me this article, thanks, on Monday before the speech, he said, I'm going to decry these Jewish centers being attacked and these tombstones getting knocked over. But we need to investigate this being a false flag, because the media was blaming it on Trump. Infowars.com has this story. I haven't seen anybody else report on it. Paul Watson was just texting me saying, why aren't you covering it? Yeah, I saw it this morning. I didn't see it in my stack. Will somebody print me that? Thank you. Turns out it is a pro-Obama, anti-Trump operative. Man arrested for Jewish center bomb threat as an anti-Trump Muslim convert. Oh, my God. Yeah, it's not hard for Trump to be proven right again. I'm not going to exaggerate. 95%. I was going to say 99, but there's been a few of the race attacks that we see out there are false flags. In fact, a lot of times it'll be a white woman saying 4 black guys raped her, and, you know, she'll cut her face. I saw that, you know, then it's not true. She did herself. And then a black woman says 5 white guys did it, and it's fake again, you know. I mean, it's people do it for attention, man. It's bad. It's an epidemic. They teach this in the feminist classes that all sex is rape. So, you know, if your boyfriend breaks up with you, you can decide to retroactively say you were raped. There was a court case where they just no-billed it with the DA here in Austin, where that went on, and the girl got mad and, you know, said, I'm going to say you raped me, reportedly. And so they've dropped the case. I mean, this is scary, folks. This is social justice warriors for you. Owen Schroyer, what do you make of this? I mean, this is just coming to a head. CNN's brand continues to plummet. It's being reported. Their numbers are just tanking. Starbucks is tanking. Lost something like 20% of its business just the last few months because of all their globalist activity. Every metric shows the mainstream's dying. So that's why they're fighting so hard. They're fighting for their life, aren't they?
Well, that's interesting you bring that up, because right now there's an interesting kind of paradigm shift happening at Fox, where you've got people either going towards nationalism, towards Trump, and then you've got the Shepard Smiths, and of course you got Meghan McCain on there too, who you just kind of feel like they aren't going with the grain. They're going to go against the grain. They're going to go against Trump. They're going to be that voice of resistance at Fox. So I kind of see that struggle happening at Fox. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But back to the point you just made about rape real quick. You know, this is another thing, and I know you want to talk about dehumanization. This is a total disenfranchisement of men in the courtroom.
Well, they're making sex and the act of procreation always rape.
Yeah.
When in many mammal species it's aggressive, not really in ours. I don't like aggressive sex myself. But the point is, it's not epidemic in the West. It is in some cultures, the more barbarous they are. And so it's making that, like, where men aren't even supposed to, if a woman puts her arms around you, you're not supposed to put your arms around her.
Right. So they ignore what's happening in Sweden. But in America now, there's courtrooms that won't even let a man testify against a woman who accused him of rape, because they're saying it might be too traumatizing to the woman. Think about how dangerous that is. There was a bill proposed in Missouri. It didn't get through, thank God. I voted against it. It was an amendment saying that if you get charged, if somebody just accuses you of sexual misconduct, it sticks on your permanent record. So look at what they're trying to open this up. All you have to do is accuse a man of rape, and now that's on his record for the rest of his life, even if he's completely innocent. And then he might not even get to voice his opinion in a courtroom because it might traumatize the woman. Think about how dangerous that is, especially when you've got some of these crazy women out there. We've seen them. Many of them hate Trump. I've videotaped them. You've seen them in the video. They hate men. I could see
they've
these
been
women
brainwashed against their own species. I mean, they're killing the species. That's the admitted plan. And by the way, Owen, you are the archetypal, young white male, red tie, American flag, navy blue, sports jacket. I mean, they absolutely get so triggered by you, and they're mainly white women. They've been totally disenfranchised. It's so sad. Owen Schroyer, Nightly News coming up with yourself and many others tonight, 7 o'clock. Great job covering Trump's address to the country this morning. Thank you so much. We'll be back with Darren McBreen with, when I say huge breaking news, it ties in crazily to everything we've already been covering. This is amazing. When you see this, absolute hard proof that MSM is behind the fake news. Stay with us, Infowars.com. It's Friday. Lord willing, I'll be back this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Central, hosting the Sunday transmission. I'm coming to you from Austin, Texas. Our investigative journalist and one of our amazing graphics and video editors and reporters, Darren McBreen, is here with us. He pointed something out hiding in plain view. Some of it we've reported on, some of it we haven't. I wasn't aware of how open and obvious this is, but that's a new tactic they've got. Trump comes out and says, I know Obama's leaking this stuff illegally, and they're mixing in disinformation, and it's criminal, there should be a probe. And Obama denies it for 2 weeks and then comes out in the New York Times with Eric Holder and says, yeah, I'm behind the leaks of classified intelligence. And then it gets worse. MSM comes out and says, yeah, we run fake newspapers online to discredit our enemies and to discredit the press and to discredit alternative news and to make money. I mean, I could have secret servers and run fake sites. I would never do that because I want to have credibility. When we make a mistake, we come and we tell you. When we're angry, I get angry. We're 100% bona fide, and they know that. And people know what we're talking about is happening and coming true. The admission of global government, the admission that they want to break up our families, the admission they want to make us poor. And then this, I knew the Justice Department was behind the Black Lives Matter and letting Soros fund them to call for the killing of police and overthrow of government and attacking Christians and the communist groups marching in the streets. Billions of dollars the last few years funded. I didn't know, and now Congress has come out. It's on Associated Press, Fox News, you name it. Obama DOJ funneled billions to liberal activist groups illegally, $3 billion of it through big banks, and then through the Justice Department. When banks pay fines, they would then tell the banks to pay it to these private nonprofit groups. Now, that is simply amazing. So this shows this whole artificial system. Then he signed a bill 2 weeks before he left office in the Defense Authorization Act, a section to federalize all media and put the CIA and foundations over the Board of Governors of the FCC and begin countering and blocking and banning fake news. 3 years ago, they announced that they'd legalize the CIA operating domestically in deception. Well, the problem is Trump has got control of the CIA, but they've got their people in there trying to block Trump. That's why Brendan was so arrogant. He said, watch what you say. Watch your mouth to Trump a few days before he was out, and was shocked that Trump got rid of him. Like he just roll over.
And Chuck Schumer.
And Chuck Schumer, we're going to talk. Chuck Schumer said, watch yourself. The intelligence agencies could take you out. So we're going to break that down. But here, breaking. This is on Infowars.com. Paul Joseph Watson, man arrested for Jewish center bomb threats is an anti-Trump Muslim convert. Trump proven it right yet again. And these things were being blamed on Trump. And then Trump comes out and says, whoever's doing it, it's terrible, it's horrible, on Monday's speech to Congress. And the media said, oh, he's a conspiracy theorist like Alex Jones. New York Daily News, Washington Times, Vice, so many I couldn't read them all, said, Jerusalem Post, Haaretz, The Forward, came out and said that I love Hitler. That is total defamation. They don't care anymore. I love Hitler and I love Trump. But it gets better. I believe that these Jewish sinners are false flags. I didn't say that. I said almost all the time when somebody burns a cross in a yard or carves a thing in their face, whether they're black or white, all the time, a black woman says white guys raped her. The whole lacrosse thing wasn't true. A white woman says black guys raped her. It turns out it's not true. Many cases. Because there's a certain type of person who's racist and wants the attention, and their MO is the same way. Turns out that's exactly what happened. We Googled his name, and I guess they're already on it. This is not broken yet, and I like The Intercept, by the way. Statement from the arrest of former Intercept reporter Juan Thompson. And it says that he worked for them. So, statement on the arrest of former Intercept reporter. And so the Intercept, Greenwald, formerly with The Guardian, this guy worked for them, probably an infiltrator. Because believe me, we deal with this too. People are like, is the Intercept behind it? Hell no, they're not. They're trying to expose false flags.
Agent provocateur.
I mean, who knows? Who knows? But this is what this is stuff I can't talk about on air, folks. But we go through this too. Okay, this is not a game. This isn't a movie about spies and stuff. This is the American people in solidarity with others around the world trying to throw the globalists off of us. So, Justice Department funding radical violent groups illegally with illegal money. Obama stealing $180+ billion out of investors' money put into Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, just saying they lost it, to give to mega banks through Obamacare. I mean, you talk about criminal looting, it's over, they should all be arrested. This is crazy. That's why they're so desperate to stop Trump and Sessions, because they know this new info is coming out of the White House to the press.
Right.
We got the stuff from the White House, the documents no one was covering. Nobody said they weren't true. Nobody tried. It was directly Federal Register about the rulings about Obama stealing the money. So this is what's happening. This is why they're so scared. And it's a crazy time. Now, McBreen said Alex to me yesterday after the show, he goes, do you think this is big? And he usually just runs with whatever he wants. I know McBreen's really smart. And I said, that's huge. I didn't know that. He's got 2 pieces of news that are mainstream that admit like it's no big deal what they're doing. See, because they're normalizing what they do. Yeah, we fund the kill the cop groups. Yeah, we steal the money of people that invest, via the markets in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Yeah, we just take, almost $200 billion of it and give it to other people. Yeah, we do whatever we want. Yeah, we open the borders up, let people in with syphilis or whatever. It's okay. And yeah, we run fake newspapers to attack our enemies, make money, and put out this info, and then use that to discredit all the new media and call for it to be shut down. You'll be doing the nightly news tonight, Darren. I want you to come in, spend some time, and break down your findings.
Well, you're exactly right. The mainstream media has been caught red-handed creating fake news websites, and they're complete with made-up stories that were spread online, and these stories were shared by millions of people on Facebook and Twitter because, Alex, they look and feel like the real thing. They look like traditional mainstream media websites. Check out the names of some of these websites. Salt Lake City Guardian, the Houston Leader, Sacramento Dispatch, New York Morning Post, and the Indianapolis Gazette. Like I said, looks and feels like a legitimate website. Here's some of the headlines. Bombshell, Trump and Putin spotted at Swiss resort prior to the election. And this was from the Sacramento Dispatch, a news organization that does not exist. There's no such thing. Here's another one. Trump refuses to provide California federal support in midst of a natural ... That's their clickbait. And so what happens is you go to these websites, and I saw these personally. I saw these on Facebook and Twitter. These were popping up. A lot of people were sharing them, totally oblivious to the fact that they were sharing and spreading fake news. And it turns out these websites were created by 20th Century Fox.
Wow. Now, let's be clear. You've got the report. We're going to go over it. We're going to skip this break. This is so big. And there's a bunch of others. Because I keep seeing these stories about, and stuff that looks like major papers, the Russians have invaded Alaska. The Russians run Drudge Report. The Russians run Alex Jones. The Russians run Jeff Sessions. The Russians run Nigel Farage. Yep. And then they're in German, too, but they get translated in our news. And remember, that's what they were saying. The CIA in foreign countries puts out fake news. That was illegal until, and we can pull up the Washington Post article, until a few years ago when they, quote, legalized it, because the CIA was like, this is illegal. And they're like, we're going to legalize it. They even had press conferences at the Pentagon saying, well, now we're going to have domestic propaganda, but don't worry, we'll tell the truth. U.S. repeals propaganda ban, spreads government-made news to Americans. So, again, that's out of the Washington Post publication there that deals with public affairs. So,
well, this could even go all the way back to Operation Mockingbird in the early 1950s, because the CIA even back then had 3,000 plus CIA agents embedded in mainstream media.
Listen, growing up in Texas, in Dallas, you couldn't swing a stick without hitting people that were auxiliary in the CIA. That's right. And that was supposedly, because HUMET was how you beat the Russians. Supposedly, they've got all these spies. It wasn't electronic back then. You had to have actual people to be watching everything to see, if this was going on. And that's how they got the best and brightest. If you were in the top of your class, the CIA came and tried to recruit you. And my dad had family and stuff that had been in it, and they were all like, oh, we kill people, we bring drugs in, you don't want to be part of this. And so, I mean, I grew up knowing what was really going on. And that was a CIA that was more pro-America than you can say now. I mean, they're into, Brzezinski has written books where he admits the shadow state is behind child trafficking, everything. His argument is they're in control of it to manage it and not let it get out of hand. We manage criminals by running all the criminal operations. And now the CIA is just one of the bigger agencies. 1947 National Security Act, they're just running rampant domestically, filled with all the liberals and social justice warriors that have been packed in there under Obama and under Bill Clinton and under even George W. And they literally are waging war against us with this info. So tell folks where you learned about this. 20th Century Fox putting up fake newspapers to run lies against Trump, doing what they claim Russia did against Hillary when they didn't.
Their excuse is they're promoting a new movie that's coming out called Cure for Wellness. But like I said, I think it's more than that. Because
no, it's slander. It's defamation, holding out a fake article, not telling you it's satire at the bottom. It's a lie.
Absolutely.
Now, again, who reported on in the mainstream?
Well, New York Times covered it. Washington Post covered it.
Yeah, no, that's why I mentioned that, because Washington Post is right there on screen.
Yep.
To promote film, 20th Century Fox created fake news site with fake anti-Trump stories. See, so they then admit it, but it's okay when they put out fake news. Well, the Washington Post a month ago put out the fake list of hundreds of names that they said were fake news. Some were fake, like The Onion. Infowars was not fake. People threatened lawsuits because it is defamation. They pulled it and said, we don't know where we got it. You got it from the CIA. We know where you got it, okay? That later came out. In fact, Trump's ordered the CIA and people to stop it. They're not following his orders. One group is all the soldiers, all the operatives, all the HUMAT, all the men that actually do stuff, the real muscle, are all Trump. But they're in there with all the analysts and chicken necks, and they're total scum. I mean, I told people that were there in the meetings when Trump comes in, and they're so, sir, here's all the targets Obama won't let us hit. These are all the ones where the Al-Qaeda and Al-Nusra bases are, such and such. Trump looks it over and he goes, hit them all. And then literally analysts were like, we're going to get him. And he gave them all presents. Nobody knows this. He gave them all presents of wood-carved American flags. And literally right after he walked out, they were hopping around going, we're going to get him. That was government money, a bribe. And a Trump guy stayed behind. He goes, he knew you'd say that. Pulled out the letter with Trump that paid for it and the receipt and handed it right to the rat. Now, folks, you're here. I shouldn't even tell these stories. That happened inside the day he went and spoke with the stars behind him. That's where they said they wanted him to speak. And one group knew it was a setup to then claim, why'd he stand in front of the stars? The other group said it's all right. But the point is, it's literally all the foundation people, all the little Astor kids and Rockefeller type kids. You know, they're better than everybody. They're better. They all hate the men. They all hate the tough guys. They hate America. And they hate Christians. They're scum. And they hate beautiful art. I mean, these are trash. Everybody knows it. And the people in the CIA that are good, they just want to get rid of them. But they're the ones in there. By the way, I didn't get that from Trump. The media's going to check into that and going to crap themselves because nobody knows about that.
Well, there's a civil war going on within the U.S. intelligence agencies, but we're talking about the CIA embedded with mainstream media. Jeff Bezos, who's the owner.
600. Tell them, this is mainstream news.
Jeff Bezos, he owns the Washington Post. He's also the founder and CEO of Amazon. Amazon just got a $600 million contract with the CIA. All right, so there you go. That's a major conflict of interest. Right?
Yeah, they announced 5 years ago that they were co-locating their servers together. Amazon, Google, Apple, all these have been intelligence agency fronts. That's the globalist model, is to have intelligence agencies control the corporations and vice versa, then transfer the power through the intelligence agencies from the nations to the globalist. They've written books on this. Amazon, the Washington Post, and the $600 million CIA contract. And it's beyond that.
Well, I can tell you what happened as a result of that.
Well, let me give you a newsflash. The Washington Post, since its founding, has been a naval intelligence operation, and then it's been transferred to the CIA, but go ahead.
Well, as a result of the CIA's contract with Amazon, Amazon has all these servers, and what happened during the run-up to the election, during the all the WikiLeaks, right, that were WikiLeaks emails and Hillary Clinton and all that, Amazon blocked all links to WikiLeaks. They just wouldn't allow it during that time frame.
Oh, remember Bozo, Cuomo said on CNN, you're not allowed to look at WikiLeaks, only we can. He talks to you like you're prisoners. You're not allowed to read books. We're the only ones allowed. Son of a crapper. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, and I think this is a result too. When you put out all this fake news on social media, everybody gets confused, and then they're afraid to share news stories. And I think as a result, the mainstream media starts to look legit again.
That's right. They're poisoning everything themselves to then go out and call for shutting everything else down, or where you won't share information, or they create blacklists, and they've all done it. They're announcing it, but here's the deal. Nothing will put you back together, CNN. Nothing will put Starbucks back together. Notice they're all ganged up on us, but every company wading into the culture war is losing. We're winning, and that's not rhetoric. And we're winning because our listeners and our viewers and our president and our resistance worldwide is only growing, and we actually care about humanity. We want prosperity. We care about telling the truth. I will not tell lies about my enemies to defeat them, because I won't lower myself to their level. Our enemies are so bad, I cannot even stop researching all the evil. There's so much of it that I can't even hardly sleep. I don't need to make stuff up about them. They've got to, oh, here's another deal. I do maybe 1 out of 100 interviews that I'm asked to do. I am no longer doing print interviews with the media unless I'm at a public event and a camera's rolling, because I read the Der Spiegel article. I had actually read the whole thing. People say, look at the end of this. It says you want to suck a sausage or something. I didn't say want to suck a sausage. They say there's gambling slot machines in the office. Trying to just raid it or something.
But see, they always come in here acting so nice, and they're just friendly, and it's, oh, we love you, Alex.
But the point is that
it's always a hit piece.
Well, he also says, you know, it's discredited that they aren't vetting the Muslims. And the whole article's a damn lie. Oh, and he says in there, I love Trump like Hitler. And then the Haaretz picks up that I love Hitler and Trump. See how they just, you know, like they take his fake news story, then they add more to it.
This works in our favor.
There aren't slot machines here, okay?
This works in our favor because anybody that tunes into this program and watches for any amount of time, they just know they could see the pinball machines. Yeah, they were.
No, we have pinball machines, but he says slot machines.
Wow.
Pull it up. Pull up the Der Spiegel article. Meet Trump's propagandist.
Spiegel.
Der Spiegel. I mean, it just makes my head spin. Recap the whole story for everybody. See that? Slot machines. Trump's propaganda arm. And you read the article, and it's like everything in it is a distortion or a lie. Keep going. Well, you've got some notes. Go back, recap everything, because I was interrupting.
Look, just to recap, the mainstream media was caught red-handed publishing fake news websites. And I can't tell you how big this is, because, I mean, I noticed when I was on Facebook and Twitter, I saw these articles for myself again and again and again. So these articles got spread and shared by millions and millions of people, all right? And it was all anti-Trump. But they had everything from Lady Gaga to Donald Trump.
No, I remember seeing it. I remember seeing he met secretly in Switzerland and knew it was horse manure to begin with, because Trump hasn't gone to Switzerland in years. I just knew it was BS when I saw it. And I thought, oh, there's a newspaper lying, because they're the fake news. They lie all the time anyways.
But they're pretty slick, Alex, because they really do look legitimate. I'm telling you. I mean, look at like I said, the names: Salt Lake City Guardian, the New York Morning Post, Indianapolis Gazette. They had advertisements. They had links to other websites. It absolutely looked and felt like traditional mainstream news media. And people unknowingly, they just, hey, it looks real. They share it with their friends. But it was massive, massive fake news. Massive psyop, and I don't know, you know, millions of people look at this, and this is how they call us fake news. This is hand in the cookie jar, without a doubt, busted big time.
Well, they know they have low information people that get their news from entertainment and Colbert, mainly older folks. And we're out at these rallies, they run up and scream and yell things like, Trump wants to deport black people, or Trump wants to cut funds to California. I've had them and seen the reports. You've had them. Millie's had them. I mean, everybody's had them. Scream at them things that we know they put out that were fake. And again, they're saying we're fake. They put out fake news, and the Washington Post reports on it like it's cute.
Hey, they also put out fake Facebook pages that have to do with Alex Jones and Infowars. You know, those are out there as well. I'll see, you know, somebody will say,
let me tell you another campaign they do. Well, go ahead and finish your story, and I'll tell you.
Well, somebody sent me a link and said, look, Alex Jones is talking about flat Earth. Now, Alex Jones is a flat earther. And it was a link to some crazy conspiracy website about flat Earth. And it came from a bogus Alex Jones Facebook page. But then you read some of the comments, and they're like, oh, yeah, figures coming from Alex Jones. Oh, now he's a flat earther. So there's a lot of bogus information out there.
No, even the comments are fake in many cases to make it's been admitted to make you feel alone.
Hey, speaking of comments, notice on the mainstream media web pages, they don't have comment sections anymore.
That's right, because they want you to come there and only get their view. And they said 2 years ago they were getting rid of them, even though it drives most of their traffic. They said more than half the traffic. Paul wrote about it. They said in their big media meetings they had that were public, one was in Chicago, they said, we got to get rid of them because, we're losing our info war. That's it. They're at war. When Trump said the fake media, that is the MSM, is the enemy of the American people, they are the enemy of humanity, folks. And it's just a prima facie truth.
Well, they're losing control of the media because of independent media and because of the internet. So, I mean, these, 6 big corporations that control 90% of everything you read and watch.
These are death throes.
They need to capture the internet. They need to gain control of the internet. So that's what they're trying to do with this as well.
That's right. Let me tell you what they've done to us. Again, we don't even list all of our affiliates anymore. I've asked GCN not to, because the old tried and true tough ones, we put them up because they don't mind. They know somebody threatening them or whatever. It's just a bunch of bull, 100 times out of whatever. They don't very, very rarely is it serious. But new ones, we learned so they don't get boycotted or threatened. We just don't list our affiliates. They're in their local area. Everybody's hearing them. The word's being spread by our listeners. And then the globalists can't even find out who to go after because they don't have the intel. And that's how we've gone over 250 affiliates now, from like 170, 180 being our top, was not listing the affiliates. I had that feeling a few years ago. We started doing that. It's really worked great. We talked to the affiliate managers at the stations. They get it. They understand it. They understand what's the point of me nationally saying who you are. It does nothing for you. I just say local, support the station, spread the word there. The enemy never knows, and they can't go after them. Again, this is a war, folks. This is hardcore. The other thing they do, I'll tell you when we come back, McBreen, stay with me, because I want to get into some carbon tax news. Congress had hearings and confirmed it's all about shutting down American industry. By the way, you look super sharp in that blue suit.
Thank you, sir.
I mean, I'm not like hitting on you or anything, but I'm telling you.
You look good sitting in my chair, too.
You look super sharp there. We'll be back. I was talking to a former Army psychologist just yesterday here at the office. And he was telling me, he goes, the same thing that head of one of the big 4 banks. This guy was the head of the 4th largest bank.
All right.
That famous conversation I had for 3 hours on a plane from Austin to New York on American Airlines, going to be on The View. And he said, Alex, you think people will adapt and overcome to fight the New World Order in our system? They're going to adapt and overcome to submit. They're going to give in to whatever we do as long as it's incremental. And the guy had listened to the show, and he was here visiting his dad that was a retired general. And he said, this is off the record talk. So we talked about an hour and a half, and he couldn't convince me, and then he didn't want to talk to me more. It was arrogant at the end, but that's the whole way of these guys. And I had to get it. He got up in the suit. It was perfectly still crisp. Got his black trench coat. Looked totally perfect. I don't know how he did it. I mean, it's how these guys do this stuff. He had it all down. The arrogance, all of it. But you know what? He's getting his ass kicked now. But I was talking to this Army guy, and he wasn't arrogant about it. He said, our military loves to fight and loves to kill. But he said they don't do that because they're bad. They didn't do that because they started out that way. They have to. You have to adapt to it and get to where you like it, or it destroys you. And the men that weren't destroyed were the ones that got to where they liked it, and the ones that are destroyed are the ones that never adapted to it. And he said, and that's what they do with the public, is they basically do bad things to us and then get us to adapt and accept it. So it's like with really smart people, that's the highest knowledge, is that those of us that see all this stuff, we are not submitting. We're trying to adapt and actually overcome it for people and build a better system. But a lot of people think they're cool if they just roll over or go along like, I don't care if they shut down half the coal power plants. I don't own coal stock. Well, neither do I. Quite frankly, my family would make more money if there wasn't coal. My mom's got some oil wells out in West Texas now that Grandma died. And my dad's got oil and gas wells. They don't make that much money where oil and gas are, but, in case it's a lot for some people. But let me tell you, if there wasn't coal there keeping the price down, my dad would be filthy rich. But my dad goes around lobbying to turn the coal on. You know why? We're not pieces of crap. And that's a clean resource we've got that helps poor people and helps industry. So I don't ever want to hear I'm for coal because I work for the oil companies. I always see that. Hey, dumbasses, the oil companies have been lobbying to shut down coal. I hate stupid liberals. They're so ignorant, they don't know anything. We're going to a special report. That's why I wanted you here. makes me so angry. So let's continue on along these lines. It doesn't even matter. The point is that, pop it anytime, Darren, it's just that it makes me so angry when I see this mindset where people think of things two-dimensionally or three-dimensionally about what at this moment gets me ahead. Okay, let's go say you steal all the money in the world collapses. Now you've got piles of jewels and Rembrandts and everything else, but you're in the middle of nowhere and society's all collapsed and it's a hellhole. That's not a good world. Well, we'll just break away and have our own segregated area. That's what elites always think. That brings you down as well. You cannot screw humanity over and transcend. Humanity must transcend. And that's through free will. If humanity decides to merge with machines and go through this whole process, then that's what we've decided. But that's what individuals decided, not what you decide. And so there's a report, a clip from congressional hearings that Matt put together. The phony social cost of coal, Washington Times. The war on fossil fuels ignores carbon's benefits. And see, it's never sophisticated in these news articles. The fossil fuel industry is a bunch of different groups and countries and combines, and oil and gas tend to give money against coal. Coal is always bullied around and just fights for survival. I only promote coal because it's so much cleaner than oil, not cleaner than gas, and there's so much more of it. Hundreds of times more.
And Obama said he was going to bankrupt the coal industry.
And what he did was bankrupt our industry.
That's right.
Because listen, let's say you're a guy worth $100 million. You've got factories in the U.S. If you can go to Mexico and have energy twice as cheap or 3 times cheaper in China, no environmental standards, the workers cost 1/10 of what they do here, and you can have profits that are, say, 15 times bigger. Do you build in Mexico or do you build in China?
Well, that's exactly what...
I mean, so it's not a question of do you even build in the U.S.?
Exactly. Well, Trump's going to change all that.
But exactly. But here's the issue. You can't build in the U.S. with all those regulations. You can't sell into the market because competitors will go to China or will go to Mexico, and so you can't even do it.
That's exactly right.
So see, that's why I harp on coal all day, folks. We have enough coal for thousands of years. It's totally clean. It's not in Mexico and places because they don't want to build the scrubbers that are super expensive to make it clean. So, Matt, you're really into this report, and you made some great points. If you want to pop in, because you've been pushing me to play this, I mean, it's kind of prima facie, as I say every 5 minutes. We know it was to shut down American industry. We know it helps China and other countries in their industry to have power much cheaper than ours. We know it makes business here prohibitive, but you didn't know you were going on air. But, Matt, I mean, I guess you wrote the description here.
Can I have a phone?
For me here. Let me go ahead and read what you said about this. At what cost? Examining coal and the cost of carbon. House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology met on February 28th to examine the social cost of carbon, which was the basis for the Obama administration's extensive push for carbon regulation. Obama's team disregarded economic factors where they were imperative to reaching an accurate cost-benefit analysis on carbon regulation, with the House Committee Chairman Andy Biggs concluding that was far overreaching. The committee was confirmed with the majority of benefits from domestic carbon regulations in the U.S. were conferring to foreign countries, or moving the benefits to foreign countries. You want to say something, Matt?
Yeah, like those benefits that the chairman discusses, Mr. Biggs, a lot of it is in regard to competition, right? Like you've been saying since before I started working here, it's the fact that, if our energy is more expensive, companies are going to go to other countries. It is a no-brainer.
It's a mathematical equation.
Oh, it sure is. And he's going to get into some of the specifics here, but one of the main pieces of data that they disregarded was a discount rate, which basically basically helps calculate the cost of regulating carbon. So without any further ado, I think we should get to the clip.
That's right. Then let's tie it into the background. Obama caught in lawsuits, confirmed, federal government confirms the documents, looting almost $200 billion out of Freddie Mae. Freddie said that you always have that tongue twister.
Fannie and Freddie.
Fannie and Freddie.
And Freddie Mac, yeah.
That's right. I mean, it just drives me crazy, stealing from private investors in it to then give it to mega banks through Obamacare in a giant scam. And then we catch them. $3 billion, Darren. You want to comment on this, Matt? You were the one that brought me the article. $3 billion to the social justice warriors of fines that banks paid for corrupt stuff they were involved in. So the banks steal hundreds of millions of dollars in some cases. It was $386 million that two banks got caught, Wachovia and Wells Fargo, laundering drug money. So they got a $111 million fine. So first they get a slap on the wrist for billions stolen. Then they take that money and they give it to social justice warriors to overthrow the country, take our guns, and teach our kids how to be sexually active at 5. So just think about it. Crime upon crime upon crime upon crime. They shut off almost 1,000 of our power plants. Our power prices almost triple in the last 9 years because Bush started it. All this hell goes on.
Don't forget Obamacare.
Oh, then there's Obamacare. Thank God the public's dumb, doubling, tripling prices. You can keep your doctor. I mean, this is all a mass raping of America, and Trump says it stops now, and then I'm a policy wonk. I study this stuff 10 hours a day probably. Used to do it more. And I know everything he's doing is so smart and so good. And then it pisses me off because it ain't about Trump. It's about me and my family and your family, and these crooks not getting away with it. So what's 20th Century Fox do? They go start hundreds of fake websites with fake news about Trump. And then dumbasses read it and come tell me I'm fake news. I'm about as fake as you don't get. I'm the opposite. I'm the anti-fake. I mean, I'm pissed off. I could be here right now. It's quite outrageous that they commit all these crimes, Darren, on every front and nothing's being done. I agree with Governor Huckabee that they need to be put in prison or there should be investigations. What do you think about them only shutting down European and U.S. coal? What do you think the plan is if China and other countries have dirty coal and then we shut off our clean coal? Doesn't that add to actual emissions of dangerous chemicals into the atmosphere? My good man, tell me.
Don't you think we're so lucky that there's the internet, though? Because I'm thinking a lot of what we're seeing right now is backlash for Trump being elected.
You're seeing news wars.
That's why they're going after Infowars, because we were definitely instrumental in getting Trump elected.
Oh, Trump knows it. Yeah.
And I think if it wasn't for the internet, that we'd probably be looking at a Jeb Bush presidency, or God forbid.
No, but they're going to. I agree with you, but let's not start. You know what? Yeah, like the Wolf says in Pulp Fiction. You know, when they're in the car, and he says, "We can't celebrate yet. Let's not start."
Oh no! Hey, revolution has just begun. Right?
But I mean, you know,
inauguration day.
Well, what I'm telling you is, we're in the war now.
Absolutely,
like Michael Savage said.
Now, a lot of people they celebrated. Of course, we all celebrated as soon as Trump was elected. But no, the battle has just begun.
That was getting the troops on the beach at Normandy.
Yep.
I mean, with a big fight.
We got a long way to go, and hopefully we'll have 8 years.
Well, we've got the initiative. We've got the superior firepower. We got history. But they could set a nuke off. They could shut the web off. Everybody's got to save these shows. They've got to remember. They've got to do their own research. They've got to know, folks, you wanted a resistance. It's here, but the enemy's having to show itself. That's what's beautiful about Trump, and they're not just fighting America. Countries everywhere are breaking away from the globalists. Yeah, let's go to this report from the Committee on Science and Technology. Here it is.
To today's hearing entitled, "At What Cost? Examining the Social Cost of Carbon."
Just 3 days ago.
I recognize myself for 5 minutes for an opening statement. Welcome to today's joint subcommittee hearing entitled, "At What Cost? Examining the Social Cost of Carbon." Today we will examine the previous administration's determination of the social cost of carbon, or SCC, and explore why the calculated value is flawed. Energy is the bedrock of our society, and yet the SCC estimate of the previous administration has killed jobs, limited innovation, and resulted in higher energy costs for American families, all in exchange for benefits that are negligible at best and non-existent at worst. The Obama administration's interagency working group, which ultimately established an enormously high SCC of $37 per ton of CO2 emitted into the atmosphere, relied on an outdated economic model and failed to take into account the White House's own Office of Management and Budget, or
it was
OMB,
written up by Ken Lay at Enron as a Republican scam. Just admit it.
Quite simply, the working group used numbers that got them the results they wanted in order to advance.
By the way, I love how the Republicans come up with the scams like Obamacare and carbon tax. The Democrats do it because it's the Republicans behind the scenes that are bad. That's why they hate Trump.
The establishment Republicans, they're the worst.
And because the Republicans can at least talk. I mean, Pelosi and Waters don't know what planet they're on. Sorry, go ahead.
As we will learn today, the SCC working group ignored two major OMB recommendations for federal agency rulemaking. First, it failed to use a 7% discount rate and instead relied on rates of 2.5%, 3%, and 5%. And second, it ignored the guideline to report cost-benefit analysis from a domestic perspective. If nothing else is taken away from what will be a very technical hearing, I hope it will be these two very basic flaws. The low long-term discount rate established by the previous administration fundamentally disregards the notion that the American economy is resilient and can respond to potential future threats with technological development and innovation. As to the flaw of the previous administration's decision to focus on CO2 emissions from a global perspective, this approach leaves the U.S. footing the bill for costly regulations that are based on benefits conferred to other countries. It is simply not right for Americans to be bearing the brunt of cost when the majority of benefits will be conferred away from home. By ignoring OMB guidelines, the current SEC models leave critical components out of the discussion. If the OMB guidelines would have been followed, the social cost of carbon would have been significantly lower. The previous administration disregarded scientific integrity by overestimating climate change resulting from greenhouse gas emissions. In order to push an expensive regulatory agenda, the administration inflated the SEC to justify costly regulations in response to the allegedly terrible CO2 emissions, terrible damage CO2 emissions will cause in the future. The SEC is nothing but a one-sided manipulation of parameters to fit the policy-driven agendas of the previous administration. These alarmist tactics need to stop. Today's hearing is intended to uncover the real truth and deception behind the SEC. America's strength emanates from our resilience and flexibility. Attempts to justify government regulations over industry innovation hinders growth and development. I look forward to working with the Trump administration to renew faith in American ingenuity and technological development.
That's why the stock market's added $3 trillion now official today, is because they announced we weren't open for business. We were to be sold off scientifically. It's in all their documents. And so that sounds like a good report, but that's milquetoast. I mean, it's stating the facts that this shuts us down industrially, but that's because the globalists sit over it and then get control in the countries over the sell-off of America. They are unbelievable criminals. Darren McBrain?
Don't you think that the globalists are pretty much scrambling right now? Because I still think they have a Trump hangover. They really did expect Hillary Clinton to win.
Yeah, but I agree they're freaking out, but they're super arrogant. And so they've never given up. And so, yeah, Juncker, the head of the EU Commission that's unelected, started cussing and flipping out in Parliament, saying, everybody's turning against us. All the countries are voting to pull out. What are we going to do? Well, you're unelected, man. You're a dirtbag. So the countries never had a vote. They're like, how are we in this? We never voted. We're pulling out. And they're like, we'll march in the EU army. Well, go ahead then.
And they always have,
we'll march in Black Lives Matter to shoot you. Well, then just get it going then.
Bring in
George. You want a damn
Soros?
fight? Let's go, you bastards.
Yeah, you got George Soros and all the paid protesters, and then you have the media that covers this like it's a good thing. And so, I mean, we do have a fight on our hands, folks.
All I'm saying is I'm not giving up. And you see how far we've come.
Hey, it's America.
Let me tell you something. You decide you're going to have this victory, folks. We can't be beaten. I'm going to skip this network break because there's going to be a show soon if we don't get this together. I'm going to say something to viewers right now. I know for a fact that we have over 40 million people that listen to the streams, listen to us on radio, and that watch us on YouTube and Facebook and other platforms. 43, 44 million people a week. Big weeks, it's higher. And then I sit there and I think I'm doing good jobs if I'm selling 1,000 T-shirts a day. I don't give a rat's fat butt, excuse my French, about $5 or $4 we're making on each shirt. I care about those shirts in the streets. But I've got to fund myself, so I try to make $5 on them. We have the new Trump-Pence 2020 shirt. Will it save the world? No. But this movement will, with God's help. You get enough people, instead of 100,000 people like the last T-shirt, it's like 90-something thousand on the street. You get 1 million people on the street with Trump as my president. We're about to sell out of those. Or Trump-Pence 2020, keeping America great. On the back, it says America First in 7076, Infowars.com. It will send shockwaves across the country. So listen, I do not want to sit there and have the crew go, well, we're selling 1,000+ shirts a day. In 100 days or something, we'll break the last record. Thank you, those that did order. They're the people that get it. I'm not bitching at the listeners. I'm saying if you want to win, call that local station and become a sponsor or send them $20 a month. Stop tithing to the big fake churches that won't fight, where you go worship the stupid demon preacher. We need to be tithed to in the info war. God wants freedom. God wants to promote justice. And so I'm telling you, if you're somebody that's poor, just spread the links, spread the articles, reach out to people. But if you're middle class, I wouldn't buy just one shirt. Buy 100. in different sizes. Give them to people or sell them. Be an entrepreneur. Sell them for $15, $20. Trump shirts are popular. Go sell them at your local. Resell them. I don't care. Just get the shirts out to people. I would cut my right arm right off with a meat cleaver than defeat the New World Order right now. I mean, I'm not suicidal. I love life so much, but I'd jump into an inferno, into a volcano if I knew it would defeat the New World Order. Right now, no thought, no way, into the volcano.
Alex, when we went to the pro-Trump rallies all across the country, full of Infowars shirts. It's like every fifth person.
And then we recruit the other Trump people that are awake and the Republicans that are starting to wake up. Here's why it's good. It's a recruitment arm for liberty. It shows the MSM the real power. It shows the Trump people the real power to keep them honest. And it also exercises free speech in the face of the bullies, but also people that are scared see all the signs and they see all the shirts and they see the bumper stickers and they see what you're saying. Right. They see you wearing your colors.
They don't feel like they're alone.
We're a military. We're a movement. This is the uniform.
Unite.
This is the uniform. Trump, Pence, 2020.
Remember I told you I had a conversation with my older brother who's a traditional Republican, establishment Republican kind of guy.
In a minute. So I got to say this. Soros, I know, before McBride slapped me. Soros is trying with hundreds of millions and billions of taxpayer money out to defeat Trump now. The fight's on now. It don't end every, 3, 4, 5 years, 2 years, new elections. It's on. The war is now. Yeah, tell folks about your brother that thinks he's part of the establishment.
Well, I told him that I was very proud when we went to these pro-Trump rallies that every fifth person had an Infowars shirt on, and then it seemed like every 10th group, it was a group of 10 or 15 people. And we were like rock stars, man. They would recognize everybody from Infowars.
Yeah, half, as the Chicago Tribune said, half the people at the convention were listeners, and more than half at the inauguration.
You could just take pictures of the crowd. You see,
and we're not bragging about it. The point is, people are awake. You've had an effect. You're awesome.
Well, I told my brother about that, and this was before the election, by the way, and he says, well, little brother, I don't really see how that's helping him too much.
No, he's part of the system.
Meaning, well, you guys are crazy conspiracy theorists, and I don't think it's helping Trump too much that you guys are representing. Well, we see how that worked out.
And I don't want to knock your brother. He thinks the establishment.
Oh, he's a great guy. He's a great guy.
He's part of it. Here's what I'm saying. I'm not complaining. I'm telling you, folks, I had no idea how these Hillary for President shirts would take off. I had a feeling it'd be popular. And everybody copied them, so millions ended up being out there. And so, yeah, copy our shirt, Trump, Pence 2020. If you're a T-shirt maker, I don't care if it's our own design. In fact, if you're a T-shirt maker, send us your email. We'll send you our template in HD, our design, or make your own. Everybody make these. Sell them. I don't care. It's not about selling these. It's about defeating people that think they're going to stomp us. I mean, I don't have a competitiveness about other successful people. I have a competitiveness about dirtbags that think they're going to dominate me and my family or you and your family, and I'm ready to go.
But you're talking about George Soros. He's not going to stop. He's putting all kinds of money into this.
Here's why I'm fighting so much harder now. I know we're going to win now if we just really push through. I mean, before I was doing it because it was the right thing to do, and I hoped we could win. I know we're going to win if we just take action and never give up. I'm ready! And so I'm telling you, I know right now there's over 1 million people metered. And we have over 1 million right now on our platforms tuned in right now. If every one of you went and bought a $9.95 shirt, we'll hire a third-party company to ship them because we can't handle that. We will sell 1 million of these. And if you don't procrastinate, if you do it, InfoWarsStore.com. And if you will just get the T-shirt, $9.95, you'll get $4 or $5 to help fund our operation, depending on the size of the shirt. That's what we make off of it. We need the money. We're under attack. You wouldn't believe it if you knew. It's actually exciting. I love it. This is exciting. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm here to fight. I'm here to win. They make jokes out of that because they want to make being excited look weak because it's what they're actually threatened by. It's people getting up, getting their blood flowing, getting focused, knowing what's happening, and opening a can of political kick-ass. So listen. Everybody go get the Trump Pence 2020 shirt or get Trump's My President or get Molon Labe, whatever, because it is good to see a mix of them. But this is the shirt. New limited edition, $9.95 out of the gate. We already had an 18-wheeler show up with a bunch. Those already sold out. Now we're going to have 3 18-wheelers down here next week. And if it's 10 18-wheelers, if it's 20 18-wheelers, I mean, why not? If you believe in the dream and take action, it'll be 100 18-wheelers. It will be saying after we sell 1 million T-shirts, let's put 10 million on the street. Let's bring these people to their knees. They think they can deceive in the fake cyberspace. They can put up fake news sites and lie about us and lie about God and lie about Jesus and lie and you know, say Christ didn't exist and say there are no good people in the world. But if you go get this T-shirt and everybody wears this T-shirt and it's seen everywhere and other people pick it up and paint it on the side of their barns and put it on billboards and on the backs of their cars, it's a message of these bullies. Even if they kill Trump, the vision and the idea of restoring our republic and cutting taxes and believing in people again and not selling out the communist Chinese is unstoppable. I don't want to see 10,000 orders tomorrow. I want to see 30,000 orders for this T-shirt tomorrow, and I want to come in here and hold it up to everybody. And I'm not on your ass. I appreciate your support, and God bless you. But I realize I've not been thinking big enough. If we have 1 million people listening every hour conservatively, and then the aggregate millions more off that, 40+ million people, what in the hell are we doing? Think about how great those people are that already changed the world, that are that tiny, less than 1/10 of 1% that bought the shirts. What if just 5% of you bought the shirts? Be that percent, folks. Be like the 5% that won the Revolutionary War, or the 3% that started it when the Brits kicked it off. Take action, InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139 and get that shirt and flood us. And if the shopping cart shuts down, just stay on there. Or I don't want to hear excuses. You don't want to buy it for $9.95. They got all sorts of third-party sites out there where you can go design your own T-shirt. And, you know, pay them $14 or whatever, and they'll ship it to you. Just do that, whatever you are. Come up with your own T-shirt. If I see some shirt I think's better than ours, I'll support it. And I'm here to take these people on. I'm committed. I'm here to defeat them. InfoWarsStore.com. Get that shirt. Don't wait. It's unbelievable. I mean, we are only hitting on 1/10 of one cylinder. We got a couple cylinders hitting. Everybody's going to see the effect, and then we're going to get all the cylinders going, and black smoke's going to come out of those big old chimneys, and then fire's going to shoot out of those babies, and the big old front of that 18-wheeler from hell's going to open up its mouth, and we're going to run these globalist gremlins right down, and they're already scared right now because liberty's coming and nothing on earth's going to stop it. Hour number 4, straight ahead, 1776 or die.
Today.
All right, I'm going to hog this 5 minutes with Roger Stone, and then he's got his big guest coming up. So I want to ask Roger, my good friend, I never have time to talk to anymore. He doesn't never talk to me anymore. We're so busy. Because the battle is just, it's on now. We got our beach yet, but it is on. All the photos that just went up on Infowars.com by Paul Watson and Don Salazar of the Democrats with the very same Russian ambassador. Their lies. We knew Trump made a mistake getting rid of Flynn, blood in the water. I'm not bashing the president, but wow. The traitorous activity is absolutely insane. And then Trump is just delivering so hard on his promises. But I believe he needs to take the gloves off. The new report out from Fox News confirming that $3 billion was transferred illegally by the Justice Department from fines they got from banks and given to social justice warrior groups. Huckabee says they got to arrest people. They want to make Sessions look embattled so he doesn't have the authority to go after him. That's why I kept saying they're going to cook up Sessions scandals. Weeks ago with you on air, I said he must strike now. And I don't know what the hell's going on. I know Trump's delivering on the economy, which they want to stall, almost $3 trillion in the stock market. So Trump's great on those fronts. But look, when you're being attacked by globalist enemies, he's got to take the gloves off. Roger Stone, what do you think?
Alex, I'm in total agreement. First of all, I got to urge you to stop mincing words and tell us how you really think.
Yes, sir, I will.
You're on fire today, really on fire. And I congratulate you, and I couldn't agree more. People need to buy these T-shirts and wear them on the streets, distribute them to your friends and your allies, because it is the single best way to break through the mainstream media blackout of the facts regarding Russia, the facts regarding the recent election, the facts regarding the corruption in the Obama administration. This is guerrilla politics. It's over the top, and it works.
The new news, the Washington Post goes, 20th Century Fox and a bunch of others have all these hundreds of fake websites attacking us by name, Trump, you, I, putting fake words in our mouths, total defamation, but it's okay because it's for movie production. No, it's not. It's totally fake. While they accuse us of this, I mean, this is just insane. They have gone to levels of criminality never before seen.
Well, this morning, Congressman Eric Swalwell of California, called for a special prosecutor to look into Roger Stone's extensive Russian business connections. I have a better idea, Congressman. Why don't you waive your congressional immunity so that I can sue you and prove in a court of law that I have no Russian business contacts and that you are a stone-cold, bald-faced liar, a pussy, a coward, hiding behind your congressional immunity to make half-baked.
And let's expand. Just last week, the chairman of the Intelligence Committee said they gave him all the evidence. There's not even frickin' phone calls. It's completely made up.
Yeah, they have nothing. Look, the New York Times has reported on January 20th and more recently that the intelligence services have emails, financial records of transactions, and telephone intercepts that prove that top Trump aides, including yours truly, were in touch with the Russians. This is really simple. Put up or shut up.
And you keep saying, I want to have the committee hearing, which they said they'd have, then they poisoned you. Well, I got to go because you got to go and have your guests come up. But what about, Trump said weeks ago, Obama's behind these leaks. Obama came out in the New York Times and said he was. That's illegal. And he's not president. He doesn't have immunity anymore. I mean, he is a piece of arrogant craziness.
Well, and we know that the second and third levels at the Central Intelligence Agency are leaking like a sieve, leaking about surveillance of General Flynn, a felony, leaking that I myself have had a FISA court warrant, a secret warrant to monitor my communications for the last year. Think about that. Every email, every text message, every phone call listened to by the government.
Your phone calls with Donald Trump.
My phone calls with Alex Jones. It's an outrageous violation of my civil liberties. And while they may now have my grocery lists, they don't have any contact with the Russians. This is a witch hunt.
The Intelligence Committee admits it, so they just put out more BS in the fake news New York Times. Roger Stone coming up.
Thank you very much. I'm Roger Stone, helping out my good friend Alex Jones here on Infowars. I am outraged by the chain of illegal activities and leaks by the Obama administration, specifically our intelligence community. Leaking that General Flynn was under surveillance is a felony punishable by 10 years in jail. Leaking that Roger Stone and Paul Manafort had secret FISA court warrants authorizing the surveillance of our emails, our phone calls, our text messages. That leak is a felony punishable by 10 years in the brig. So it is time for the Trump Justice Department and those honest folks that are still left at the FBI to begin enforcing the law. My advice to the president, very clear. Can the entire second level at the Central Intelligence Agency, but not before you authorize the FBI to review their emails, their text messages. Let us find and prosecute the leakers. And in fact, if Barack Obama has given multi-millions of dollars in violation to the law to left-wing advocacy groups, he too should be prosecuted. Now, joining me here on Infowars is one of my favorite people, Len Colodny. Len is the author of Silent Coup, which is the definitive book on what really happened in Watergate. Len is also, I think, one of the foremost experts on the journalist Bob Woodward. Now, I read recently, Len, that Bob Woodward is now going to write the definitive insider account on Donald Trump, and that the Trump White House is giving Bob Woodward access. Not a very good idea based on what I know, but let's see what you think, Len.
Bad idea. And starting about 3 weeks ago, we started to see a narrative build in the media. They were using Watergate as the model for Trump. And this was very, very dangerous. It went from CNN plucking Bernstein, Carl Bernstein, Woodward's cohort out and putting him on. And there were many, many allusions to things in Watergate, which included leaks, by the way, Roger, as you well know. And last night it was drips, drips, drips. And Hillary Rosen, this is Clinton's person, brought up that hero that they're waiting for named John Dean. So we're beginning to see the makings of a narrative that's very dangerous, because we can't keep forcing presidents out of office. You just can't do it. We have protections in the Constitution that if you've got something against President Trump, file the charges with the House Judiciary Committee. Let's have a hearing, a vote, and a trial in the Senate. That's the way you do it, but that's not what's building out there. And that's why we see Woodward on CNN and on Fox. And it would be sad if President Trump gave him any access. I did a talk in New Orleans where you and I met, and I produced the big lie that you have on page 520 of Nixon's Secrets. I asked Woodward what he did in the Navy. Did he brief Alexander Haig? Did he brief anyone? And you can hear in this talk and on my website, you can hear Woodward say, no, never briefed anyone. I defy you to find anyone. And I did. I found the Secretary of Defense, Melvin Laird, who confirmed that Woodward was briefing Al Haig in 1969 and 70. And then Admiral Thomas Moore, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, who was Woodward's boss, also confirmed it. So if you have someone lying about who they are, they're fake. He's a fake reporter producing fake news. And in fact, he produced a fake history. I think generations who weren't around for Watergate, you got to push back. Silent coup is a roadmap. Get silent coup, read it, and look for the signals and push back. Don't let them do it again. This is a very, very dangerous game they're playing. And I think it's very important. I saw on MSNBC a fellow named Larry O'Donnell or whatever had a whole show with E.J. Dionne trying to figure out how they could remove Trump with the 25th Amendment. This is serious business, and you're spreading serious words. So learn about Watergate, look for the symptoms, and push back. Because if Donald Trump is forced from office any other way but constitutionally, this country is headed toward a civil war. It isn't necessary. And the media should know better.
Well, Len, I must tell you, I'm very impressed with Larry O'Donnell, because I don't know how anybody conducts an entire television show while they're that drunk, in all honesty. He is among the most dishonest journalists you can see on television. You also kind of set me up to announce my next book, which will be available in May. It's called The Lies of Bob Woodward. And you'll be able to get it at Amazon. It's a shorter book, but I think more and more people, building on the incredible research that you have done, building on the oral histories that are now at Texas A&M, in which both John Dean and Bob Woodward lie repeatedly. And this is important historical information that people need to know. Now, you have raised the question of John Wesley Dean. All one would need to do is to look at his sworn testimony to the Watergate special prosecutors in depositions and his sworn testimony before the Senate Watergate Committee to find multiple discrepancies and lies, better known as perjury. Mr. Dean is the man who planned, pushed, and then covered up the Watergate break-in and lied repeatedly to President Nixon about exactly what had transpired. In his most recent book, as you know, which he claims is the definitive book on Watergate, in which he reproduces many of the transcripts of taped conversations in the Oval Office, he seems for some odd reason to excluded his conversations with the president on March 16th, 17th, and 22nd. The reason for that, I believe, of course, is that it will show him coaching his client on how to perjure himself and misleading the president about the facts of Watergate. So letting a quisling, letting a rat this close to the Trump White House is indeed incredibly dangerous. I would suggest to the president that it is not wise to allow him any kind of access, because the book he writes, as the book he wrote about former CIA Director Bill Casey, will be rife with falsehoods, lies, and fake news. What is your assessment here, Len, on John Dean? Because it appears to me that he is moving far left as a protection against any re-examination of his true role in Watergate. And by the way, Mr. Dean, if you're listening, please sue me, because you like to sue people who can't fight back. But I will fight back, and I will prove in any court of law you want to choose that you, sir, are a liar, and that you, sir, are the perp in Watergate. Len?
Well, they brought the specter of John Dean. As you know, John Dean is more Democrat today than he is anything else, maybe even further left than that. But John Dean has been reduced in history because he was used by Alexander Haig, and he was used by Bob Woodward and Fred Buzhardt as they moved to force Dixon out. But he was the rat that testified and perjured himself. So he's important, but he's not as important as Alexander Haig. He's not, who became, by the way, president for 15 months. There's a great book called Nixon's Gamble that will take you in, and you'll see in great depth exactly the role that Nixon made a bad call. This is a situational conspiracy. When I say that, it isn't a true conspiracy, because Nixon appoints General Haig to be his chief of staff. He didn't know that General Haig was going to drive him from office. But General Haig, working with Bob Woodward, and for example, Bob Woodward went to the Senate Watergate Committee twice. Once in May of '73, and he said, call Alex Butterfield. And he went a second time in July and said, call Alex Butterfield. That's how the taping system got released. His fingerprints are all over this Watergate, the real Watergate story. In November of that year, he published a story that said that Deep Throat said they're deliberate erasures on the tape. And then shortly thereafter, there was an 18.5-minute gap, which I believe was put there by Alexander Haig and Fred Buzhardt. So Silent Coup is the other version, but it's the real version. And younger people, younger than me at 79, but certainly who missed the thrill of Watergate, get a copy of Silent Coup, read it as though it were a playbook for what the media is going to do right now. Who is going to be the next John Dean? Who is going to be the next Bob Woodward? And that's what we're going to find in this. And this is go to mywatergate.com site, and you can hear it all for yourself.
Well, there's another lesson here, it seems to me, Len, and that is a lesson that's important for President Trump. One of Nixon's greatest mistakes was hiring the Alexander Butterfields of this world, hiring a group of young men, largely, who were not loyal to him or his vision. Hi, I'm Roger Stone, back at Infowars, and proud to be with you today. Alex Jones made an important point earlier today, and I want to reiterate it. Freedom is not free, and Infowars is the cutting edge, is the tip of the spear in the fight for truth and real news, which is why I ask you right now to go to the Infowars.com store to support the important work that's being done here. You know, I attribute the fact that I'm still on this planet to my use of Living Defense, one of the very best products, which takes the toxic organisms in your body and is essentially a cleanser. This helps with digestive issues, weakness, weight problems, an entire plethora of health problems. Now, interestingly, today, you can get 50% off the retail price if you sign up for the Infowars newsletter. That's right, Living Defense, one of the very best proven products in the Infowars lexicon, available if you sign up at 50% off the Infowars newsletter. So you can go now to Infowars.com/newsletter, sign up for this vital source of information, at the same time getting 50% off on one of the very best products available at Infowars, Living Defense. You can read the reviews for yourself. There's hundreds of them. This is a product that works, and I cannot recommend it highly enough. This has been an exciting week in the Stone Zone because Netflix.com yesterday announced they're going to premiere their documentary, Get Me, Roger Stone, at the Tribeca Film Festival in New York City on April 23rd. Now, this documentary comes out of Hollywood. We don't expect it to be a love letter, but I have spent many, many hours being interviewed in preparation for this document over the last 5 years. And I think it will be illuminating in terms of how exactly Donald Trump got elected and the integral role that Infowars played in that revolution. Because you see, it was the Infowars, the Breitbart Newses, the Daily Callers, and so many others who are doing first-rate investigative journalism today and embarrassing the CBSs, the ABCs, the NBCs, and, dare I say it, the greatest single progenitor of fake news in the country today, CNN. So look forward to that. You'll ultimately be able to see it online through Netflix. It's called Get Me, Roger Stone. I also want to remind you that the book, The Making of the President, 2016, is available on the Infowars.com store. And you can, once again, support the important work being done by Alex Jones and so many others here at Infowars by buying this blockbuster book through Infowars. I have now signed roughly 4,700 copies. My pledge is good. You will get a signed copy of this book, of which I am very proud, by going to the Infowars store and ordering it now. If you want to know the truth about whether or not there was Russian infiltration into this election, it's all there, folks. It's all in the book. And there is no more. In other words, the false narrative that we see coming out of the CIA, leaking out of the 17 intelligence entities, claiming Russian involvement, it is all debunked, it is all disproven, and it is all exposed in this terrific book. Of the 5 books that I have written, this is the one of which I am most proud, and I am very grateful to my friend Alex Jones and my many friends at Infowars for making this available to you at a special price and with a guaranteed signature from yours truly. Thanks for those who have already ordered it, and thanks to those who will do so today. This is a great read. We are number 17 on the Publishers Weekly bestsellers list. We, interestingly enough, I think are within shouting distance of the New York Times bestseller list. So I urge you to grab your copy today. And again, if you buy it at Infowars rather than, say, Amazon or Barnes & Noble, you are guaranteed a signature from the author with my and the Stone family thanks. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for returning with us here at Infowars. It's an exciting time to be alive. Alex Jones made reference earlier in the show to the importance of the various T-shirts being produced at the Infowars.com store. And you may look at this and say, well, it's just a T-shirt. It's far more than that. Whether it is the Trump-Pence 2020 T-shirt, the Hillary Clinton for Prison 2017 t-shirt or the Trump is my president t-shirt, wearing these, distributing to your friends and families and urging them to wear them helps break through the mainstream media blackout regarding the truth when it comes to Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, this administration. So go to the site, find the t-shirt that tickles your fancy, order it, and wear it proudly. You can also save money and get guaranteed delivery now on sold-out products through AutoShip at Infowars.com. This is the real secret to supporting Infowars while also saving a lot of money on super high-quality merchandise like Caveman, the True Paleo formula, which I'm anxious to try. When you select AutoShip, before you check out at Infowars.com, you get 10% off your orders and guaranteed delivery on out-of-stock products that are on your auto ship list. So please, folks, support the fight for freedom, support the fight for real news by going to the Infowars.com store. Now, joining me is one of my favorite people, Josh Caplan of Vessel News. Josh is on the cutting edge of real news. And Josh, I'm delighted to have you with us today on Infowars. You had some great perspectives on what's going on regarding Attorney General Jeff Sessions and the witch hunt over Russia. Josh, thanks for joining us here today.
Well, Roger, thank you for having me. And before we get started, I'd like to congratulate you on your phenomenal book and your upcoming documentary premiere.
Well, thank you very much. So what's your assessment? All of Washington today seems to be a Twitter about Jeff Sessions and this move to recuse himself from anything Russian. I don't buy the current narrative that the Democrats and the media are seeking the removal of the Attorney General because of some what appears to be innocent contact with the Russian ambassador. What's behind the scenes here? What's really going on?
Well, the Russian issue is one of the great wedges, I think, of the Trump era, at least the early segment of his presidency. We see that Jeff Sessions is one of five, as I call the horsemen of the anti-globalist coalition. We have Sessions, Bannon, Miller, Trump, and formerly Flynn. And what we're seeing here now is the Democrats attempting to oust yet another member of this Confederate to move forward what I believe is the Democrats' cornerstone platform, which is open borders. Jeff Sessions has been on the front lines against illegal immigration and also immigration associated with H-1B visas. He's fought against Mark Zuckerberg's lobbying group Forward.us, and he's also fought Soros, who's attempted to decimate our southern borders. To me, in my purview, this is the root cause of the new political witch hunt against Jeff Sessions.
You know, it's interesting if we just had to contend with liberal Democrats and other globalists, but my fear here is there's a lot of rhinos in the mix. There are a lot of establishment Republicans who never supported Donald Trump, who are unhappy with his presidency, who are nonetheless trying to infiltrate the administration. You're upset about leaks in the White House? This is really simple. Don't hire people who aren't loyal to you, and you'll have no leaks. You know, one of Stone's oldest rules, go to bed with dogs, wake up with fleas. This seems to me precisely what has happened. Len Colodny said it in an earlier segment. Who will be the John Dean of the Trump administration? Is it Reince Priebus? Perhaps we'll find out. But I see the rhinos, the Koch brothers, and other bad actors here in the establishment wing of the Republican Party trying to move this narrative against Jeff Sessions, against Steve Bannon, against Steve Miller, and against others like General Flynn, who are indeed, I think, the key players in the effort to restore this country to greatness, reverse the decline of America, and, above all, seal our borders.
Roger, you're correct. There are a number of rhinos that have been pushing the narrative alongside the Democrats that what Jeff Sessions did wrong collaborating in a very short meeting with Ambassador Kislyak. We have Jason Chaffetz, who said that he wanted Sessions to offer further clarity on his testimony. We had Majority Leader Kevin McCartney, who said that he too would like to see more clarity and that Sessions ought to recuse himself from any probes concerning the Russians. And then, of course, to no one's surprise, we have members of the deep state, John McLaughlin, who was the former acting head of the CIA, saying that Kislyak was, quote, an experienced information collector, insinuating that a meeting taking place between Jeff Sessions and him may have been an opportunity to spy.
Well, that's interesting. Jeff Sessions was, of course, a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. A meeting between the senator and the Russian ambassador would not in any way be illegal or improper. The same case could be made in the Flynn matter. A phone call between General Flynn and the Russian ambassador would be well within General Flynn's job description. And in fact, the purpose of the call, as reported by the New York Times, was to arrange a telephone conversation between our president and the Russian president. Nothing inappropriate about that. So I am perplexed as to why General Flynn would mislead the vice president, if that has been reported accurately, and why Senator Sessions, who I think is a great man and a great attorney general, with the exception of his position on marijuana, because you can't be for states' rights in the states that have legalized medicinal marijuana, but not be for states' rights in the states that have legalized recreational marijuana. Doesn't work that way. But putting that issue aside, they want to remove Sessions because he is the strong right arm of Donald Trump. They want to remove Sessions because he has been the leader in the Congress to close our borders against terrorists and other criminals who would come here and don't mean us well, who mean us harm. I have said repeatedly that the real danger to this administration is not liberal Democrats, it's establishment Republicans. Better a snake in the grass than an asp in the bosom. Now, the other big brouhaha in Washington now appears to be Obamacare. So many in the establishment believed that the president would not follow through on his commitment to replace the Obama health care system with a better system that would cover more people at a lower cost based on free market principles. Yet, we have not yet seen the bill. Senator Rand Paul complaining that there's a game of keep away going on, that he can't seem to see the bill that is being considered. Now, I know your ear is very close to the ground. What's your assessment on Obamacare and where this is headed?
Well, there is a fissure right now that is created on Capitol Hill. We see the Tea Party wing of the Republican Party in the Senate, led by Cruz, Lee, and Rand. And then in the House, we had Mark Meadows and Jim Freedom Caucus. Just today, Rand Paul, who's been somewhat of a de facto leader on trying to get a conservative solution to the repeal and replacement of Obamacare, has said that the conservative members of that coalition are inclined to decline wanting to go forward with this plan that has been shrouded in secrecy. As you had alluded to just a moment ago, Rand Paul went on a hunt of his own, tried to obtain the bill in room H157 of the Capitol building and was denied access to reading the bill. He even brought a photocopy machine along with him just in case he was able to get a glimpse of it. So what I see occurring right now is somewhat of a storm brewing between the rhinos, the conservative wing of the party, and where Donald Trump plays out in this is going to more or less define him early on as either the deal-making president, as he has been a proponent of for quite some time throughout his campaign and through his presidency, or is he going to be able to come together with both of these parties and offer what many say is Obama light, which I think the base would be quite upset about. This is where Donald Trump solidifies himself early on legislatively as a deal maker.
Yeah, I would bring your attention to a terrific article published in the New York Post last week by Charles Gasparino, one of their business reporters, where he speculates about the administration's intention to move forward on their tax reform proposal. I am one who believes that if the president can revitalize our economy, can begin to show an increase in job opportunities, and show a more vibrant economy, that it would not only buy him the revenues to solve a number of our other problems, but would expand his political coalition, would move him an additional 10 points to have a governing coalition that is both intact, intense, and vibrant. Yet I have very deep concerns. The president's chief economic advisor, Gary Cohn, is a liberal Democrat, a lifelong opponent of tax reduction, and he comes from Goldman Sachs. Now, I have put my faith in the president, and I don't deny that the folks from Goldman Sachs are enormously capable individuals, but I would like to know whether they intend to pursue the president's agenda, or are they going to pursue the agenda of the left wing of the Democratic Party and thus guarantee the continued decline of our economy and our nation? Tell me, Josh, what do you think?
Well, I think that the infrastructure bill is a very smart play by the president, not only because from a policy prescription standpoint, the country needs an infrastructure bill. Many of our roads and bridges are falling apart, but it offers an opportunity for President Trump to provide sweeteners to senators that might have issues with some provisions in either the Obamacare Replacement and Repeal Act or in tax reform. So much like we saw in 2008 when Barack Obama and Harry Reid got together and offered the famous $100 million Cornhusker kickback to Senator Nielsen of Nebraska, we see here that the president has an opportunity to get tax reform and Obamacare repeal and replacement through using sweeteners embedded inside of this infrastructure bill. So I think it's possible. This is where the deal making is going to come into play. And I think in August is when we'll start to see real tax reform debates kicking off. And then in terms of Obamacare replacement and repeal, within Rand Paul had alluded to today that within the next 3 weeks, we're going to see the House begin to table a bill. And as he said today to the Washington Times, it's going to be up to the conservative wing of the Republican Party to either take it or leave it.
I think that's a good analysis. Look, Donald Trump may be the toughest negotiator I've ever met. It's easy to underestimate him. He has been underestimated from the beginning. In this sense, it reminds me a lot of Ronald Reagan, another president who was both very great and underestimated at every turn by his opponents throughout his political career. I agree with you that the infrastructure bill could be the greatest Christmas tree of all time in terms of providing opportunities to do some horse trading with key members of the House and the Senate to get them on board. I do have a concern that the infrastructure bill is going to incur debt beyond what is necessary. And I'm hopeful the administration will look at some more innovative and creative ways of financing a restructure and a revitalization of our bridges, our tunnels, our roads, our airports, and our public facilities. I do think through the use of insured bonds and other financial instruments, there could be a better way to do this, but it does fulfill one of the central tenets of Trumpism, which is it's time to reinvest in America. I also think this backs into the Russian question in an odd way. The president has a very difficult choice. He can incur debt in order to pay for more missiles and bombs and offensive weapons to use in a war in Syria, where, in all honesty, we have no friends. Assad is a dictator propped up by the Russians, contributing to Hamas and Hezbollah, funding them. And on the other side, you have ISIS propped up by the Saudis. So here's the conundrum for President Trump. Do we incur debt to restructure and revitalize our bridges, our tunnels, our highways, our schools, our hospitals, our airport facilities? Or do we borrow that money to pay for bombs to use in a expanded proxy war in Syria? Seems to me like the president has made his choice. He has no illusions about Vladimir Putin. He knows he's KGB. He knows he's a bad guy. He knows theirs is a rotten totalitarian system. But if Richard Nixon can negotiate strategic arms limitation with Brezhnev, then surely Donald Trump can negotiate peace over the question of Syria in the Middle East with Vladimir Putin. So I say, give peace a chance. Maybe that should be our next t-shirt, Alex Jones. Give peace a chance. I put my faith in Donald Trump. He's the greatest negotiator, perhaps, who ever lived. I'm reminded of my friend Roy Cohn, who once said, when it comes to the negotiation table, Donald Trump pisses ice water. He is tough as nails. And that is the guy I want negotiating for the United States. Josh?
I agree with you 100%, Roger. And the issue at hand that you were talking about, the conundrum between the infrastructure plan and then building our military, is that going to negatively impact the deficit? Donald Trump has promised from the very get-go a balanced budget. If he's able to bring about
I'm going to have to cut you off there because we're going to the break. Josh, with Vessel News, Josh Caplan, one of the leading purveyors. I'm Roger Stone, back with you on Infowars, and glad to be here helping my good friend Alex Jones, who is without any question one of the MVPs in the election of Donald Trump and the effort to make America great again. I ask you how you would feel if you knew that the government had been looking at your email, your text messages, and listening to every single one of your cell phone calls or your home phone calls over the last year. Would you feel violated? Would you feel that your privacy rights had been destroyed? Would you feel that your civil liberties had been trashed? Well, that's how I feel. And it is not an easy feeling, because although it's now clear that the federal intelligence agencies and the Justice Department have access to my grocery list and my back and forth emails with my wife, my members of my family, my business associates, my conversations with Alex Jones, my conversations with President Trump and President-elect Trump. But I'll tell you what the intelligence services do not have. Any proof whatsoever that I had any contact with the Russian state, Russian intelligence, or any Russians or anyone fronting for the Russians. There are no weasel words here. There are no attempts to deceive. This is a witch hunt. It is a lie, and it is beneath the dignity of the federal government, if they have any. I also want to tell you that if you want to stick your thumb in the eye of the political establishment, please go to the Infowars.com store now and get your copy of The Making of the President 2016, How Donald Trump Orchestrated an American Revolution. Now, Infowars is the only place you can go today to get a guaranteed book signed by yours truly. And yes, I am a New York Times bestselling author and most proud of it. Time is running out to put this list on the New York Times list. I point out to you that the books in positions 14 and 15 on the list have a lower Nielsen book scan rating than this book does, meaning that there's a high probability that the book has, in fact, qualified for the New York Times list, but perhaps has not been listed for political reasons. So go to the Infowars store now and get your copy. It will be signed by yours truly, and I think you will enjoy it. And if you want the information to argue with your friends and associates and those who disagree about Russia, everything you need to know is in this book. Now, it's interesting to me that former CIA Director John Brennan out in the media this week saying he is not the leaker. Why would he feel pressured to do so? I say it's because Alex Jones and others have exposed him. Mr. Brennan, you are a convert to Islam. You are a former member of the U.S. Communist Party, and you are leaking like a sieve. I'd like to see you make your denials in front of a federal grand jury under oath. It's time to expose John Brennan for what he is, a fraud and a traitor to the United States. Thanks for joining us here at Infowars. It is an extraordinary fight that we're engaged in today. The intelligence services, the mainstream media, allies of those who are breaking the law in our intelligence services, are intent in undoing the Trump revolution, and seek to remove the president from office, despite the fact that he has done nothing that is impeachable. Get your t-shirt on the Infowars.com store now.